yesterday. We look forward to engaging conversations, discussions today as well. We begin the day with a special session on embedding solar in the energy transition, leveraging emerging technologies and critical minerals for a resilient future. We have on the panel with us an distinguished representation. We have Honorable Minister Ernesto Quesar from Trinidad and Tobago. We have Her Excellency the Chair, Honorable Minister Karen James, Grenada. We are also joined by Ambassador Juan Angulo and representation from the Ministry of Energy in Chile and the Director General. We welcome you all. I now hand over to Dr. Mridula Bharadwaj for the session.
Many thanks, Aditya. A very good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and warm greetings to all our distinguished panelists and participants joining us today in person and also online. On behalf of the International Solar Alliance, I am delighted to welcome you all to the roundtable on embedding solar in the energy transition, leveraging emerging technologies and critical minerals for a resilient future. I'm Mridula Bharadwaj, and I'm leading the Green Hydrogen Storage and Solar E-Mobility programs of ISA. Ladies and gentlemen, in today's session, we will discuss key opportunities and challenges in scaling up storage, clean transport, and green hydrogen ecosystems, and also reviewing the critical material needs for use in efficient climate technologies. We will cover the unique regional and sectoral contexts and insights from international experts through our panel discussion today. To set the tone, we will now hear the welcome address from our Director General, Mr. Ashish Khanna. Over to you, Mr. Khanna.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome once again after a very set of exciting and exhilarating discussions and an excellent dinner at a wonderful place. I hope all of you enjoyed that. I would like to start off why we are shifting gears and talking about this aspect. And this would relate to some of you who were there yesterday and heard about a revolving vision. We have a new vertical, which is technology policy and technology roadmaps. And this session strives to give a concise view of what are the issues that are very relevant for each country, including in Latin America and Caribbean, as part of that vertical. Now, in order to be exhaustive, we have a lot of issues packed in this session. You will first hear about storage. And storage, as you know, has multiple dimensions. It could be battery storage, it could be long-term storage. So the entire gamut of short, medium, and long-term energy storage issues that are critical, and especially in the context of Latin America, but hearing from global experts. We have done a lot of research on it already, and you can see all the reports on prioritization framework and deep dives that have been done. The second is on solar electric vehicles. Of course, as we all know, the developing world will see a massive urbanization. In fact, in a lot of developing countries, almost 50 to 70% of urban infrastructure that will be built by 2040 is yet to even begin. So imagine what can new technologies like BIPV, the electric vehicles, the entire infrastructure of charging can mean for the energy landscape for the entire developing world as a whole. I think you will see a readiness assessment and detailed work on that. Then we will go to green hydrogen. A lot of excitement, sometimes a little less these days, but in the medium term, still people are looking at bringing down the cost of green hydrogen and ammonia and all the industrial uses of that, whether it is aviation fuel. A lot of excitement on that. That is something on which Chile has one of the leadership positions in the world, so it's a right place to actually talk about green hydrogen. And finally, we will talk about, which is also hugely important for this continent, that those are the critical materials, whether it links to copper and cobalt or the rare earth metals. So all of them extremely important. I hope you really enjoyed the discussion. And for this continent, we will come out with clear action plan for way forward. With that, I hand over back to you, Madhuri.
Thank you very much, DG, for sharing ISA's overall vision on these important sectors. Ladies and gentlemen, before we dive into the roundtable discussions, I will take a few minutes to give you a flavor of what we are doing in all these three sectors. I will request our IT colleague to kindly put my slides on the screen. And just to let you know that the session agenda that you have, at the back of it, we have all the links given for the reports I'll be mentioning in this 5-minute presentation. So you can have a detailed review of those reports, and we'll more than welcome any comments or suggestions to further revise our analysis. So going to the next slide, please. As our DG presented yesterday, the key pillars in ISA's strategic visions are on the screen. Integrated institutional strengthening and digitization is one. Global Capability Center is second. Catalytic Finance Hub is third. And today, we are talking about technology roadmap and policy. And this is to ensure policies are designed to manage the uptake of solar and related technologies in the ISA member countries. So we'll go to the next slide. So as you all would have heard many times since yesterday, that technology is central to ISA for achieving its vision. And global clean tech innovation, as we know, is happening at a very fast pace. And this can be related to technology innovations, policy and regulation, business model, different innovative business models, and deployment also. And so ISA provides informed guidance on existing and emerging technologies, as you can see in a couple of slides later, and technology forecasting and policy innovations, so that we are ready to absorb the emerging technologies in the future upcoming years. So going to the next slide. This is just an example of what we have done, and I'll take you through that. Technology prioritization is one of our important aspects, where we basically discuss with our member countries or have a conversation with them based on our analysis that what are the use cases in their countries or regions which they should be prioritizing the technologies for. So if my colleague can click on the use cases, I'll give you an example which we recently published in our reports showing on the right side. And as I just wanted to mention that can you go back to the slide, please, that we were on? Yeah, yes, please stay here. This is an example of how we have, prioritized or mapped the storage technologies available across short, medium, and long duration energy storage, and then map them in terms of the different use cases. So this is published, and the link of the report is at the back of the concept note. Going back, emerging technologies, this is where we talk about technology forecasting, so that for an example, lithium-ion battery is a very classic example where we might be running into supply chain issues because it uses a lot of critical materials, including lithium, and we have limited reserves in the world. So technology forecasting is related to telling or discussing the upcoming technologies which bypass these supply chain issues or other technological bottleneck. And here you see in terms of high, medium, and low technology readiness level at different color coding. And this again is there in our report. And as you can see here, we have different kind of storage systems spanning across electrochemical, electrical, thermal, mechanical, in different categories. And then we have listed here the storage which comes under them, and the color coding will tell you the technology readiness level. So this is how we look at and keep a track of emerging technologies and keep our members informed to get ready and be ready for those. So going back, Policy analysis and policy innovation. Policy analysis for the ongoing existing technologies, and innovation is to prepare for the emerging technologies where there are policy gaps or not yet ready. We also do country prioritization and implementation roadmap. As you've seen, many of our member countries have participated in our workshops this year for electric vehicle, storage, green hydrogen, and some of them I see here, and I welcome them. And thank you very much for joining our workshops and giving us a lot of feedback on the reports that we published recently. So ecosystem readiness assessment framework, if you click here, it'll give you an example of what we have done in green hydrogen. We have made a framework which can help the countries screen themselves and figure out that at the different 10 to 12 critical parameters which this framework is based upon, how they are faring, where are the gaps, and how they can move forward by addressing these gaps. Can be related to regulatory, business model, or technology. Going back, just to give you an example of identification of front runners. Okay, we can skip that. Maybe I'll talk about the training since the time constraint is there. Yeah, this is just an example of how we have put the countries in different buckets based on the performance they have done on the framework using critical screening parameters. So going back, if you click on the training under the analytics, please go back to this one. And go back, yeah. The analytics and advocacy. This is the training we did last year for Latin America, and Caribbeans, and also Africa, along with APAC, in Cairo and New Delhi last year, where we called it Policy Accelerator Training Program. And here we had 1 week of intense in-person training for the ministry officials from around 28 to 30 countries. And we had a very detailed training program with them. Going back on this was for green hydrogen, by the way. Going back, I'll just give you one more example of the last one, GHIC, if you click. Yes, this is it's kind of a flagship platform where all our green hydrogen related activities get uploaded and integrated. This Green Hydrogen Innovation Center is a one-stop knowledge platform made for our member countries to assist them not only to see worldwide what's happening in green hydrogen. It also has a lot of green hydrogen value chain mapping done, and we have done for 70 member countries as I speak right now. And this was launched under G20 partnership under the India Presidency 2023. And I encourage all our member countries to please visit it and see this. Every day we update this portal, and this is meant as a knowledge platform. So going back, so move to the next slide, please. Yeah, so the context of today's workshop, we have taken energy storage as a focus area, because as you know, global stationary energy storage capacity should increase, or it must increase sixfold from 1,500 gigawatt current. Right now we are sitting at around 272 gigawatt, and up to 2030 it should be reaching around 1,500 gigawatt, looking at the net zero emission by 2050 as per the IEA 2024 report. So this tells you that how important it is to keep a track of where we are in the progress, making the progress for storage. Going to the next slide, please. The second important area being on focus today is what our DG mentioned, is the decarbonization of transport sector. Solar e-mobility is one of our program, and we are doing two approaches for this. One is the solar-powered EV and battery charging station, and the second is vehicle integrated photovoltaic technology. And we have recently launched a report and did an extensive workshop for Latin America and Caribbean, as you remember, in April and May timeframe this year. And this report, again, is available on our website, and link is given Further comments are welcome. We already received a lot, and we updated our reports based on those comments. Going to the next one. This is again the green hydrogen, as we've been hearing, is it's one of the important future fuels. Has different use case scenarios, starting from as one of the long duration energy storage option to a clean fuel, and also important fuel for long haul transport. And so this is the reason we picked it for today's focus discussion. Going to the next one. So this is my last slide. Objective of the roundtable today is to brainstorm current and emerging technologies related to storage, solar EV, critical minerals, and green hydrogen technology landscape, policy and regulatory frameworks, global best practices, manufacturing and supply chain, existing and emerging business models. And the important takeaway for this session will be identify areas of collaboration through what kind of feasibility studies we can do together, joint pilots, business models, and country-specific roadmap. And we also are looking forward to identify our partners, opportunities with ISA's capacity building initiative like STAR-C, which you heard a lot about yesterday, Green Hydrogen Innovation Center, which I just spoke about, and other joint training programs. We now transition into the panel discussion. We are delighted to have a very illustrious panel, ladies and gentlemen, today, consisting of representatives from member countries, ministries, and private sector. To begin the discussion, may I now invite Mr. Giulio Maturana, Head of Sustainable Energies Division of the Ministry of Energy, Chile, to give the opening intervention, please. Over to you, Mr. Giulio.
Hello, welcome. Thank you again for the invitation. In my presentation, I will talk about the main advance of Chile in energy. For my presentation, I will speak in Spanish, so please take your translator. Okay, thanks. Muchas gracias nuevamente por la invitación, especialmente a ISA por realizar este evento acá en Chile. Como comentábamos ayer, Chile depende bastante de los combustibles fósiles. Y en los últimos años, en los últimos 10 años, hemos tenido una transformación importante de nuestra matriz energética, principalmente hacia energías renovables. Hoy día, nuestro país cuenta con un potencial importante de energía solar e hidráulica, y en términos de generación de energía, aproximadamente el 65% de la generación es a través de energías renovables. Un salto muy importante respecto a lo de años anteriores. Hablo lento porque en Chile hablamos muy rápido. Así la traductora alcanza. Con un 70% de generación de energía renovable en nuestra matriz energética, e incluso al 2050 llegar al 80%. Con respecto a los sistemas de almacenamiento, En los últimos años hemos avanzado mucho en este tema. Hace pocos años teníamos prácticamente nada de sistemas de almacenamiento y hoy tenemos cerca de 2 gigas de almacenamiento. Esperamos en los próximos años, más o menos el 2028, tener cerca de 6 gigas en almacenamiento en nuestro sistema. Eso representa cerca del 15% de la capacidad instalada de todo nuestro sistema. Con respecto a hidrógeno verde, Chile tiene ventajas comparativas importantes con otros lugares. En el norte del país tenemos mucho sol y en la zona austral, al sur, tenemos mucho viento, lo que nos permite generar hidrógeno verde a partir del sol y también a partir del viento. Hemos tratado de impulsar esta tecnología a través de regulaciones, así como fomento a las industrias, capacitación en capital humano. Sin embargo, al ser una nueva tecnología, todavía faltan muchas cosas por avanzar, tanto en nuestro país como en los mercados externos que son los que van a demandar hidrógeno verde. Por lo tanto, hemos hecho un plan de acción de hidrógeno verde. Pueden consultarlo en nuestra página web del Ministerio de Energía, en español y en inglés, que traza los objetivos que tenemos respecto al hidrógeno verde en los próximos años. Regulación, fomento, capital humano, entre otras cosas. Es un documento muy interesante y que los invito a revisarlos y estamos también dispuestos a compartir nuestra experiencia, conversar también respecto al impulso del hidrógeno verde. Sobre electromovilidad, sin contar China y sus ciudades, hoy día Santiago es la ciudad con más autobuses eléctricos en operación. Eso es gracias a una política de Estado que hemos realizado desde hace mucho tiempo, en que partimos con el transporte público para la transformación de vehículos a combustibles fósiles a eléctricos, lo que nos ha permitido avanzar muy rápido, no solamente en la región metropolitana, en Santiago, sino que también en otras regiones. Además también de varias leyes que han podido impulsar la electromovilidad. Y en paralelo hemos impulsado también los lugares de carga para vehículos eléctricos. Chile es muy especial, es una franja larga de norte a sur. Y en algunos lugares, para ir de una ciudad a otra, se necesitan recorrer más de 300 kilómetros en pleno desierto, donde no hay absolutamente nada. Los desafíos de la electromovilidad son muy grandes para nuestro país, especialmente en el sector de carga eléctrica. Por eso hemos impulsado varias normativas y regulación para poder avanzar más en electromovilidad. Sé que hay más personas que van a exponer sobre estos temas, pero solo me gustaría dar un mensaje final respecto a los informes de ISA que nos han compartido, las hojas de ruta de implementación de carteras de proyectos, sobre los documentos solares, almacenamientos, proporcionan valiosas perspectivas sobre estas tecnologías y apoyamos que que se puedan difundir para implementar también en sus países. El año pasado, 2024, ISA nos invitó a un programa de aceleración de políticas de hidrógeno en Nueva Delhi. Agradecemos mucho esa invitación porque nos ha servido también para implementar y ejecutar políticas en nuestro país. Queremos agradecer sinceramente a ISA por brindarnos la oportunidad de compartir nuestras ideas acá y además agradecer y seguir colaborando con ISA y con todos los países miembros para alcanzar nuestros objetivos en energía solar, electromovilidad e hidrógeno verde. Muchas gracias.
Thanks, Mr. Maturana.
Muchísimas gracias, señor Maturana. Es un honor
Minister of Energy,
invitar al honorable ministro de
Dad
Energía
and
e
Tobacco.
Industrias Energéticas.
His Excellency,
No hay micrófono, no hay audio. No recibimos audio.
your intervention on the sectors of focus.
No recibimos audio.
Madam Chair, Director General, Madam Minister and Chair of the proceedings, His Excellency Ambassador, and to the Honorable Speaker that went before, and to all of the honorable guests and the dignitaries and the members of staff, a pleasant and wonderful morning to you. Buenos dias. My intervention will focus a little bit on green hydrogen and Trinidad and Tobago. It was November 2022, the government of Trinidad and Tobago, together with the Inter-American Development Bank and a company called KBR Incorporated, would have launched a green hydrogen, a national green hydrogen roadmap in Trinidad and Tobago. Since then, we have been proceeding in a balance between public sector, state, and supported or parallel initiatives by the private sector, mainly in the industry. And to be very specific, we have Yara International, which is an international ammonia company, to which the government of Trinidad and Tobago has 51%, and Yara has 49%, all part of Yara Trinidad and Tobago Limited. They have launched their international initiative for green hydrogen, but there is a great focus on Trinidad and Tobago as one of their flagship regions. In addition to that, we have held meetings with another international petrochemical company, ammonia company, Proman, which have also indicated that they are heading to that direction. The impetus of all of this in Trinidad and Tobago has to do with dwindling gas reserves, natural gas reserves. And in an effort to maintain the lifeblood of those very critical industries in our country, both the government of Trinidad and Tobago, and I must say, this initiative, this green hydrogen initiative, transcends the politics, because it would have started in the last administration, and it is now continuing in this administration, which is the new administration, so that we understand the importance as a people that we need to have a balance at this point in time where renewables are concerned, and hence the reason why solar is a priority in addition to getting to green hydrogen. In terms of our economy is still a very hydrocarbon dependent in economy. That's a fact. But that because the natural resource is non-renewable and it is dwindling, both from a state perspective and from a private sector business perspective, there is no other option but to turn to renewables and to move as fast as we can to have renewables complement the current state of our industry. In addition to that, as we have said yesterday, as small island developing states, where the issue of renewables are concerned, there's a lot of need for us to be very specific, island specific, and I'll give you an example. It took Trinidad and Tobago 7 years to develop a 92.5 megawatt solar farm. And it was a collaborative effort between the Ministry of Energy and Energy Industry, the state sponsor, together with BP, Shell, and our national gas companies, assisted by some of our local NGOs. And again, this project would have transcended the political divide, because we understand this is about the survival and making sure that the people of Trinidad and Tobago are able to be sustained from an energy perspective. In closing, I did say I'll be short. In closing, we are very thankful for this invitation. I would just like to correct Madam Chair. I am a Minister of State in the Ministry of Energy and Energy Industries. The Minister of Energy is Dr. Rudal Monilal, but that we share the workload because it's so much work, so that we share the work, and that I deal with renewables and the issue of regulatory compliance, and as my good colleague and comrade was saying to me this morning, I deal with oil and gas. That is my thing. I deal with that. But that in closing, I must say, the ISA has placed itself at a very critical juncture in the world at this point in time. There is a need for a ramp-up of technical support, a need for clear directions and a clear strategy towards accessing the resources. I heard Director Generals speak about how many amounts of money there's to be accessed by the private sector and by international donors and so on. But more so, the need for very succinct and strategic coordination of these resources, so that we welcome all of the support thus far. We also welcome the technical support that will come based on our bilaterals that we would have had day before yesterday. We look forward in the signing of this agreement, Director General, that we are able to move our 92.5 megawatt solar farm to the point of storage and distribution to the much needed. And I will also make a plug for the private sector who have engaged in green hydrogen. I would have listed the companies, and when I get back, I will engage them and to ask if they have engaged the ISA in assisting them to move that green hydrogen agenda a little faster, because it is critical for us, given the fact that our proven reserves in natural gas are dwindling, even though we do have, the gas is there, but as you know, the issue is proven versus what we feel is there. So that I will engage them to point them, if they have not done so already, to the ISA, and for the ISA to assist those private sector actors in helping them to come up with a faster agenda in terms of getting to green hydrogen. I must say thank you for the ability to make these very small and short interventions, and I look forward to our continued deliberation as the morning continues. Thank you, and may God bless.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, for sharing the ministry perspective and experience. Ladies and gentlemen, as you know, in our session today, we are covering 4 sectors related to clean and emerging technologies. For this, we have put together a panel consisting of experts from across the globe so that we get diverse perspective and ideas. We will sequence the speakers sector-wise. I will be inviting the speakers from the storage first, followed by clean transport, green hydrogen, and critical minerals. Due to time constraints and to accommodate packed panel, We request our dear speakers to limit their responses to around 3 minutes. This will also give an opportunity to the audience to interact with you. If anyone wants to have a follow-up conversation with our panelists, please reach out to ISA and we will help you connecting with them directly. May I now please invite Dr. Arjun Bhattarai, co-founder and chief technology officer of vFlow Tech, a Singapore and India-based manufacturer of vanadium-based redox flow batteries. Arjun is based out of Singapore, and thank you, Arjun, for such late night joining us. Arjun, I know you're traveling today, and thanks very much for accommodating our request. Could you please share your thoughts? Many LAC countries, as you know, this is a LAC RCM, they are exploring ways to integrate long-duration energy storage to complement solar deployment, especially in island nations and remote grids. Could you elaborate on how your system, the vanadium flow battery, compares with other storage technologies in these deployment scenarios? And what lessons from vFlow Tech's deployment could be relevant to our LAC members, aiming to scale resilient and sustainable storage infrastructure?
Am I audible? Hello?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, thank you, Mridula. Good evening, all. For energy storage, it's a growing topic, it's a hot topic today. There are various technologies you might be hearing. Lithium ion is obvious, that is quite common. But there are flow battery in the picture as well, which are good for long duration energy storage. So technology is not new, it is already 40 years old invented technology, but they are picking up quite a lot in the current decade, mostly because of the need for long duration energy storage. The primary difference of vanadium flow battery from lithium ion battery is they have a very long life, 20 to 30 years of life. Their capacity does not degrade, so they give a stable capacity. And they do not pose a fire risk because it's a water-based chemistry compared to what you see in lithium-ion batteries. For application like, as you say, LAC regions that weak grids or island applications, so this battery can provide a long duration storage. So typically charging from solar in the daytime and giving that next 18 to 19 hours of supply to remote islands or to the weak grids, giving a reliable 24/7 supply. So that's where the flow battery wins lithium-ion batteries. Not only that, in many other cases flow battery has been used for grid application as well, where it can do the grid balancing, it can do frequency regulation, arbitrage, and many applications. Our experience has been like we have deployed to more than 10 countries today, and mostly they are from Asia and where there are weak grids. So one of the examples that we have done in Singapore itself is powering a remote island which was burning about 10 million liters of diesel each year because it was not connected to the grid. So we completely make it green, connecting a solar PV, installing a solar PV and a battery system, and the whole island was net zero today. So it's running from last 2 years, and we have seen very good results that vanadium flow battery can provide a stable and reliable power and basically manage the grid. We have done such installation across the world, a couple of countries, such as Indonesia, where the weak grids, the problem of weak grid, where the batteries are managing the grid. So when the grid is available, they are charged from grid, and then when the grid are out, batteries forming the grid and providing the stable supply. So those applications I see can be replicated in the countries in LAC, which are actually quite mineral rich in terms of vanadium itself, and also they have a lot of petroleum refineries and all, so which can be converted to vanadium. Yeah, that's what I would like to say.
Thank you, Arjun. I know you have to leave for the airport, so just one quick question related to the critical mineral related area. So there is a growing interest globally in sourcing critical materials in more sustainable ways. Could you share your details on your recently signed or done a project with Indian Institute of Technology where you focused on extracting vanadium from the battery, from extracting vanadium from petroleum residues or industrial waste? And how might such circular economy approach be relevant to our LAC members, especially those with oil refineries and heavy industries? Could you quickly share your perspective on this?
Sure. I mean, the idea was the vanadium is there are different resources, different origin for vanadium. One is of course mining, and not all the countries has mining available for vanadium, but the secondary resources for vanadium are quite popular. Anyway, in terms of resources, vanadium is one of the abundant in Earth, like below 20, but not all the country has mines today. So what we are trying to do is for a country like India, where the energy storage has a huge potential, and we see there is a need for long duration energy storage, but there are no large mines where we can extract vanadium. So one way to get vanadium is so refine the petroleum waste. So there are petcoks in there are spent catalyst from various industrial waste. They can be converted. So they are vanadium rich in nature, and there are simple manufacturing process, leaching process, which can be developed, and then vanadium can be extracted. And you must be surprised that for long duration energy storage, typically for 6 hours, 10 hours, the cost of vanadium in the battery can itself be 60 to 70%. And if we can develop this circular economy by extracting vanadium from such waste, I mean, that's where we can have the cost control, reduce the cost of energy storage, and also convert the waste where it's a problem that how to manage a waste, that we are turning this to a resource. So that's a good part. Coming to LAC, of course, there are many countries. For example, Venezuela, Brazil, I hear that they have a lot of oil refineries, and where the presence of vanadium is also quite substantial. They can leverage such opportunity and build the supply chain locally, and develop such batteries. And you could definitely look into how China pushed this technology to scale to today more than 5 gigawatt hour, primarily because of the vanadium region. And they are one of the that was probably one of the best decisions that they have implemented for safe energy storage, and other countries are also following. And my recommendation would be, of course, LAC countries can look into that path, and if there are, of course, collaboration or support needed, we are happy to partner as well.
Thank you very much, Arjun, for all the insights. Next, we have Mr. Alfredo Vieira, Evaluation Specialist, Climate Investment Funds. Alfredo is an evaluation specialist at the CF. Part of his role, he manages diverse stakeholders with the Transformation Change Learning Partnership, TCLP, a global community of practice hosted by CIF. His expertise is in monitoring, evaluation, and learning. And before joining CIF, he worked in the areas of energy storage and renewable energy at the World Bank's Energy Sector Management Assistance Program, SMAP. Alfredo, my question for you is, what type of technologies does the CIF invest on through its Clean Technology Fund, and what is some of the impact those investments have had so far?
Thank you very much, first to ISA for your invitation, and for all the panelists before me about the very interesting information you've shown about the different efforts presented by Chile, Trinidad and Tobago, and private sector companies on green hydrogen and mobility and other clean transition technologies. In terms of the Clean Technology Fund from the Climate Investment Funds, it's one of the two funds that we have, and it basically focuses on scaling up low carbon technologies in developing and middle income countries. So it definitely tackles a wide array of the technologies that we're discussing here today, and we try to mobilize and catalyze transformational financing to deploy those technologies. So let me give you a little bit of a flavor of how CTF or CIF invests through CTF. We have been recognized by the UN Secretary General, but also as part of UK Pact as a transformative climate finance fund towards clean transition. And we invest in different types of renewable energy generation technologies, obviously solar photovoltaics, wind, geothermal, biomass, also energy efficiency when it comes to industrial sector, but also commercial and building demand side efficiency. We do clean transport. We do cross-cutting mitigation technologies such as smart grids, efficient cooling, heating, energy storage systems. And obviously we have right now actually a very big focus on industrial decarbonization technologies. The way that we invest in these different technologies, it actually varies. We provide senior loans, subordinated debt, equity investments, concessional financing overall through convertible or contingent grants, guarantees, and other financial tools. We have achieved a lot so far through the Claim Technology Fund and others, and other of our programs as well, of our investment programs. But the CTF has already achieved over 84.4 million tons of CO2 avoided annually since we started. It also has basically built a 32.5 gigawatts of installed clean energy capacity. And we have mobilized around $56.8 billion based on the amount that we have already put, which gives us almost a proportion of $1 from CIF and $12 from other financiers. We have built a ton of effects and positive impacts, such as 42 million hectares of sustainable land and water management. But all in all, our impact is shown by the amount of CO2 that we have avoided, the clean energy capacity that we have added, and obviously the large amount of capital that we leverage, and that effect that we have of mobilizing $12 for each dollar that we invest. And this is through MDBs, through national governments, through bilateral donors, and obviously through private sector as well. And we've had multiple independent evaluations, and I think we can speak a little bit more about this in the near future. But we have multiple investment frameworks that we have evaluated, and CIF has provided a way of always guaranteeing that the investments that we do in the technologies that we're discussing here today, namely energy storage, mobility, green hydrogen, are always transformative. And that has specific meaning within the way that CIF operates, and I'll be more than happy to discuss a little bit more about it later today, but I think I'll stop for now. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Alfredo. This is really great and very helpful for us to understand the investment area. Now, switching the gear to the clean transport sector, could I please invite Ms. Stephanie Kodish, Senior Global Director, Drive to Zero, CalSTART. Stephanie is based in US and is leading international strategies to accelerate the decarbonization of commercial vehicles. Her work spans local to global scales, uniting governments, industries, and communities to drive equitable climate solutions. Stephanie, would you share your perspective on how the global zero-emission commercial vehicle market is evolving, number one, and what role the Global Memorandum of Understanding on zero-emission, medium, and heavy-duty vehicles is playing in accelerating this transition across different regions of the world?
Certainly. Thank you, Mridula, and it's a pleasure to be with all of you. We're at a really exciting and pivotal moment in the global transition to zero-emission, medium, heavy-duty vehicles. So we're talking about buses and trucks. The technology is here. Battery electric trucks dominate the space, and fuel cell trucks are available as well. Same holds true with electric buses. These aren't just prototypes. They are on the road. They are hauling freight and moving people, and they are proving their value. Long-haul electric trucks, they're logging over 1,000 miles in a single day, and in markets like Brazil, in Mexico, they are already over 90 commercial vehicle models that are available. So the thing that is driving this momentum is really four key forces. It is policy, it is total cost of ownership, it is investment, and it is infrastructure. Strong supply-side regulations like California's zero-emission vehicle mandates or Ethiopia's ban on ICE imports, These policies are creating market certainty, and the business case is catching up quite fast. In many regions, electric trucks are already cheaper to operate than diesel. They're over 40% lower operating costs. And that's where the global MOU plays a catalytic role. So the global MOU is not just a pledge. It is a living ecosystem of over 40 country signatories and over 250 endorsers that span the utilities, the cities, the manufacturers that all hold a commitment to this global MOU. And together we represent nearly 40% of global GDP and 20% of new truck and bus sales. And we're also unified by a shared goal, which is what the global MOU represents. It is a 30% zero emission new sales of buses and trucks by 2030 and 100% by 2040. So if your countries, if your institutions are not yet a part of this effort, I would invite you to contact me. Would be pleased to provide you with additional information to become part of the global MOU. The MOU is actively working to help countries move from ambition to action. We're working to shape policies, we're working to unlock investments, and we're working to accelerate necessary infrastructure. And we are co-leading this effort with the government of Colombia. This work, it's growing because it works, and we're seeing real world impact. So on the roads, there are over 187,000 zero emission medium heavy duty vehicles. That's just what was sold last year. In the aggregate, we have over 1 million now on the road globally, and we are at a tipping point. This leap is moving from vision to a reality that's unfolding on our roads now.
This is great, Stephanie. And can you also provide examples? As you know, this is the RCM we are doing for our Latin American and Caribbean country member countries, that how the zero emission MHDV, the medium and heavy duty vehicle transition, is unfolding in Latin America and the Caribbean specifically, and what are some of the most promising developments you are seeing in these particular regions?
Yeah, well, Latin America is showing remarkable leadership in this space. In Mexico, Transporte Marve, they are one of the largest electric truck procurements that they just made outside of China, over 120 new BYD heavy-duty trucks. These are already in operation. Grupo Modelo has been running electric trucks at cost parity with diesel since 2022. And in both of these countries, Brazil, but also Mexico, combined, there are over 90 different truck and bus models, as well as vans that are commercially available. So that's ready and available now. In Colombia, Bogota's electric bus fleet, it's one of the largest outside of China. And the country is co-leading, as I mentioned, the global MOU effort jointly with us. Chile, where you all are sitting, it's another standout. Early MOU signatory, and it's also a regional leader in electric bus deployment. We're also seeing innovations with infrastructure. For example, Zero Carbon Charge. They are building a national network of off-grid solar-powered charging solutions in South Africa. So that's a model that could be replicated in many areas within Latin America. And these are solutions that are not only reducing emissions, importantly, but they're also enhancing resiliency and economic opportunity in these communities. In the Caribbean, we're seeing a lot of meaningful steps, still early stages. Barbados, for example, they're already deploying electric buses across the island, and leaders like Dominican Republic, Curacao, San Martin, and Aruba, they are all global MOU signatories. So each of these countries are working toward 100% zero emission trucks and buses. These efforts lay the groundwork for broader zero-emission medium and heavy-duty adoption in the region, especially as solar-powered charging and distributed energy solutions become more viable for island nations. So these regions are actually proving, your regions are proving that with the right mix of policy and planning and partnerships, zero-emission transport is not just possible, but it's also profitable and scalable.
Thank you, Stephanie, for the deep insights into the commercial fleet decarbonization. Ladies and gentlemen, we now move to the green hydrogen sector. We are delighted to have Dr. DMR Panda, Executive Director, Hydrogen, National Thermal Power Corporation, NTPC, Government of India. As many of you know, NTPC is a public sector undertaking involved in generation of electricity and is the largest power company in India under the Ministry of Power. Dr. Panda is responsible for conceptualizing and implementing green hydrogen projects across the company areas. Dr. Panda is also the CEO of a joint venture company, APNHAL, which aims at setting up 25 gigawatt RE capacity in the state of Andhra Pradesh in India. Dr. Panda, the question for you is, what's so special about microgrid in Ladakh everybody is talking about, apart from its location? And also the green hydrogen mobility has been, it started 2 years back. What are the challenges, what are the learnings, and what is the biggest, attraction of this project? Over to you.
So, greetings to everybody. Now, what I'm going to talk about very briefly is a very exciting project. Exciting not only for NTPC, but for India and globally, those who are interested and keen on hydrogen. So first, as Mridula had mentioned, the microgrid project. So that is in the upper Himalayan range, which is at a height of 4,500 meter elevation from mean sea level. At that height, of course, it is all mountains, and there is no grid, and the grid probably will reach at least not before 5 years, and there are people staying there. So what we have conceptualized and which is under execution, a 4 megawatt solar and hydrogen PEM electrolyzers and the storage solutions and then the fuel cell. So in the daytime, so we'll make hydrogen, store in the storage cylinders, generate electricity in the fuel cell, so that combinedly we can provide at least 200 kilowatt round the clock. And typically the temperature is sub-zero for more than 6 months. And it is very critical that people should have access to electricity for everything. Right now, they sparingly use DG sets. So not only we are having energy security and the decarbonization, but the electricity which we all enjoy using, everybody can have that. Then comes another exciting project, green hydrogen mobility. Again, it is in the lower Himalayan, and height is at 3,500 meter elevation, only 1,000 meter less than the earlier project. Now the temperature again sub-zero for more than 4 months, and right now as we are speaking, the temperature has been falling down. So we are having buses and a solar station, and then the hydrogen generating station and the buses. Now what is so exciting about this? Now when we started 3 years back, we are thinking of an mileage of 12 kilometer per kg of hydrogen, and now when we're running, we are getting 18 kilometers per kg of hydrogen. Now that is what we are very excited. The point is that we all, those who are enthusiastic about hydrogen, those are committed to hydrogen, and those who believe in hydrogen should invest in more and more pilots, so that actually we can have a lot of data on this. And you all can understand, when we started 3 years back, we collected data as much as possible. And for us, 12 kilometer per kg is the benchmark. Now we are getting 18. And there are many such factors which we are discovering. So I will end here, saying that I suppose I thought about mentioning this too, because we are very exciting. Other than this, we are doing a couple of hydrogen project, green hydrogen projects for natural gas blending, for ammonia, for methanol, and a few more projects are lined up. So that's it. Thank you so much for listening and taking an interest in hydrogen and about India and more specifically about NTPC. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Panda. And also thanks once again for organizing a field trip for our LAC and Asia Pacific trainees last year to the NTPC mini grid. Thank you once again. Our next speaker is Dr. Sam Bartlett, Director, Green Hydrogen Organization. Sam is the Director of Standards at the GHO and ensures that green hydrogen production conforms to the highest standards on emissions and ESG performance. So Dan, welcome. And then question for you is, okay, that's a very contextual. Quite a few large green hydrogen projects have been shelved in the last 12 months. But we are also seeing some large projects reach final investment decisions. What are the factors driving commercial viability? If you could just share your thoughts on that.
Thank you, Mridula. It's great to see you, and it's an honor to join you all today. We're very proud of the work that we've been doing together with ISA around the world in supporting member countries in developing their hydrogen strategies. I think if we go back 3 years, there was indeed, as the Director General pointed out right at the start of this session, a lot of hype around green hydrogen. Everyone was looking at, if we have the potential for cheap renewable electricity, then we can be a provider of green hydrogen. And we saw a proliferation of hundreds of projects, all aiming to supply that market. We're now seeing some of that hype moderate. And the reason for that is very clear. You don't have a viable project unless you have a customer. You have to focus, a laser focus on meeting the demand from specific sectors where green hydrogen is, essentially a no-regret option. And those priority sectors include the fertilizer industry, particularly for countries that are dependent on imports, either of the fertilizers or of natural gas, so they can help achieve energy and food security by leveraging green hydrogen and green ammonia production. The steel industry, where green hydrogen is an essential part of the decarbonization journey, and maritime and aviation fuels. And I'll just briefly mention maritime as a really important driver, because we have this year the IMO taking a really important decision, the International Maritime Organization, taking a decision on its net zero framework, including a multi-billion-dollar fund that will support ship owners that are using near zero fuels. So the projects that we are seeing reach final investment decision are targeting the fertilizer industry and the maritime fuels industry in particular. The challenge is, to get a green hydrogen project to FID, you need an offtake agreement for 15 or 20 years. If you're a ship owner, you don't buy fuel for 15 years in advance. So we need to be creative about how we solve that contractual relationship between the producer and the customer. But at the country level, we're coming up with creative solutions to those kinds of problems. So focus clearly on those hard to abate sectors. And we're seeing, really significant progress, especially leveraging solar power as the price of solar and batteries continues to fall. It's very exciting.
Thank you, Sam. Just one quick response on should we be looking at green hydrogen as standalone projects or as feature of decarbonized grids utilizing LDS or long duration energy storage technologies? Your quick response for that one.
Yeah, my view is that we absolutely need to see it part of an integrated approach to the energy sector. But that comes with a challenge. If your project, as Mr. Panda just pointed out, if your project is off the grid, it's very easy to prove that you're using renewable electricity. And that makes the certification of green hydrogen and green ammonia quite straightforward, because it's clear where your electricity is coming from. But if you are connected to the grid, there's a real challenge in demonstrating that you're using renewable electricity. And the solution, and the one thing I'd like to sort of highlight as a priority, is we need to link renewable electricity certification to green hydrogen certification. And what we're seeing in key markets like Europe, you need to prove that you have hourly matched renewable electricity and hourly matched green hydrogen production. So there should be a clear flow of the renewable electricity certificate to a green hydrogen certificate to a green ammonia certificate. And that is a problem that we should be able to solve, but it means working together on renewable electricity certification and hydrogen certification as a similar challenge, not two separate exercises. And that's exactly, I'm joining you from Indonesia this evening, and that is precisely the challenge that we are working on this week in Indonesia, is linking those two certification efforts. So thanks again for inviting us to join, and it's a privilege to join this panel.
Thanks again, Sam, and also thank you for being our instructor last year for the LSC and Asia Pacific Green Hydrogen Policy Accelerator Training course. And you're joining so late from Indonesia. Thanks again for that. Ladies and gentlemen, may I please invite Dan Millison of Asian Development Bank. Dan, are you there? I know you're driving, but are you able to hear me?
Yeah, I'm here. I hope you can hear me.
Great. So Dan has assisted ADB in mobilizing financing for multiple grid expansion and upgrade projects totaling more than $1 billion, including new lines in Bangladesh and Nepal. And he's currently supporting ADB's technical assistance program for innovative technology and businesses. So Dan, question for you as relates to the Washington State case. A lot of big, high-profile projects appear to have stalled or been canceled recently. Is there a problem with the scale or lack of government support or financial commitments? What's your thoughts on that?
Thanks. Happy to be here. And since I'm a consultant for ADB, nothing that I say is official ADB. This is just Dan giving you his views. Sam just touched on some of that. There are plenty of big projects were announced that ultimately did not have off-takers for the hydrogen. So they stalled out or have been completely dropped. And there's definitely a syndrome, I would say, of, conceiving projects that are too big to succeed. And if you can convert that to a too big to fail project, then great. And in the hydropower business, Namten 2 is a great example of how that can happen. But there are, hundreds of hydropower projects, specifically in Nepal and northern India, $1 billion plus that never make it past the concept stage because they're simply too big to succeed. So the Washington State case, which I came across just a couple of days ago, in a small town in Douglas County, Washington State, Utilities Bureau has that's very interesting. It's only 5 megawatts of electrolyzer, and it's powered by surplus hydropower. The hydropower plant is fully amortized, depreciated, so the electricity input cost is essentially zero, and the electrolyzer works in grid balancing mode. And that would be, as Sam explained, that would be one where we could probably certify that we have renewable electricity, and it's definitely real-time matched to the electrolyzer output. And on the offtake side, the Public Utilities Board has set up a fueling station for low-duty vehicle trucks, and also
I think we lost you, Dan. I know you're driving.
the coexistence of hydrogen for change.
I think, yeah, we got an idea of what you're saying, Dan. Sorry, I know your signal is poor. And thank you very much for this very interesting piece of information. Our next speaker, Dr. Sumit Chaudhary, is a global thought leader specializing in digital infrastructure and economy, telecom, information analytics, and smart and sustainable studies. As a founder of Green Earth X, Sumit is developing the world's first global green hydrogen trading exchange. So welcome, Sumit. And the question for you is, yesterday here at the RCM, there was a discussion on how digital platforms are creating an information flow that is making the energy industry more efficient. Where do you see the contribution of such digital platforms to get the green fuel or green hydrogen industry take off, especially since most projects are not getting off the ground due to lack of funding? Over to you, Sumit.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. Thank you for inviting FIDE. I am actually today representing both FIDE, which is the Foundation for Interoperability in the Digital Economy, and also Green Earth, which is working with FIDE to create this digital platform for green hydrogen. Now, Sam pointed out a couple of things very well, which is essentially a lot of plants are not getting to funding because they don't have offtake agreements, and offtake agreements are not happening because people can't place long-term 15, 20-year bets on the price of hydrogen because they can't place the bet on the price, you don't have long-term contracts. And each contracting mechanism is very complicated with a lot of checks and balances and caveats, which is making it very difficult for people to get into contracts, which means that out of the 2,000 plants that IEA is tracking, 1,500 of them don't have FID. And these 2,000 plants are from 35 years. So the first 500 which are either operational have been there for a long time. So the number of plants coming online is very few. So the problem that Sam pointed out, I'll talk about how digital technologies can solve that problem. First is, can we fractionalize the contracts? Can we make it into smaller chunks so that a lot more people can get into the investment cycle? Can we have smaller off-takers providing a lot many smaller off-takers coming together? The bigger problem that we see in the hydrogen space is that the demand is quite fragmented in a lot of different places. Like if you take an example of the airlines, we said sustainable aviation fuel. They need sustainable aviation fuel in a lot of thousands of airports. You can't have manufacturing plants in thousands of airports. You need a way in which the fuel is made available in these places. And so is in the marine sector. They both have this problem that they have distributed demands, and then you have distributed supply. So when we at FIDE were looking at how to solve this problem, we realized that it's actually a coordination problem. Can the buyers and sellers find each other on a digital platform first? Can they trust the quality and guarantee of origin of the supplier and of the produce? Can digital technologies track the hourly tracking that Sam mentioned as well? Can you ensure that they were using green energy to create green hydrogen or green ammonia or green SAF or whatever it is? So the second place where we see massive impact from digital technologies is essentially this linking of the green hydrogen certification and the green energy certification, which is already a common thing. So if you take a look at the book and claim system that is going on, can we link the book and claim systems in the oil industry and put it and work very closely with what is happening in the REC certification or the renewable energy certification in the electron industry, and do what the fuel industry took 80 years to do? Can we do it in 3-4 years and make hydrogen or the green hydrogen or the green fuel industry the first digital first ecosystem? We don't want to get into long-term contracts with on paper and have them non-tradable. When we can start the industry and we can get all the suppliers of a region come onto a same platform and be able to tokenize their production and be able to let it trade. Now, if we tokenize and let smaller contracts trade on the platform, we have essentially created a new commodity out of the hydrogen ecosystem.
And then the traders will come in. The Goldman Sachs and the JP Morgans will start investing in the financial instrument, which will put more money on the table for the plants to get funded. Today, it is only project finance. Can we get trade finance into the ecosystem? That is the new way of thinking about it. Can we fractionalize it? Can we create the link between RECs and the green hydrogen certification and make it tradable? Today, the book and claim system in the SAF system, they are not tradable. You can have it, you can claim it as scope 3 emissions, but you cannot trade it. So again, there is no money coming in. The whole fossil fuel industry became big and greed got them to a particular place. We are saying that can we use the same mechanism in the green energy using digital platforms and let market mechanisms solve the problem. We cannot have an industry supported through grants and funding alone. We have to have a self-sustaining industry which has figured out how to do it. And the last point where digital technologies are going to come in. In most countries that we are seeing, policy says that the government is giving and selling the land to the operator. Can we rethink this whole idea of selling the land versus the government making I come from the telecom industry, by the way. The same way as the government gives the spectrum and collects revenue share from the operators over time, can we look at land the same way? That the government becomes a participant in the success of the project instead of being successful even before the private sector is successful. The government is asking for the private sector to buy the land and then make the thing. So 50% of your capex is already gone in the land and you haven't produced a single kilogram of hydrogen. Can we rethink this across from a policy perspective and make the government a participant in the long-term success of the project? I think these three, I also have another company that I help with, which is in the manufacturing of green hydrogen. We have done the math. If we take the land cost out and we do it on a long-term basis, we are selling green hydrogen at 30% cheaper than gray hydrogen. It is possible to get green hydrogen at 30% cheaper if we deal with the land economics slightly differently. I think digital technologies, as we were talking about yesterday, can make this information flow from one industry to the other, from one plant to the other, and let information drive out or remove the inefficiencies of the green hydrogen ecosystem. And I think one of the offers that we were talking about yesterday is that with ISA, we create this platform in the region, and essentially we have all the green hydrogen operators or green fuel producers of the region come onto the platform and become one giant virtual power plant. If we can do digital technologies to create a virtual power plant or virtual fuel plant, you can call it, then you buy together, you sell together, and you are creating a marketplace which will make the whole industry a lot more efficient than it is today. So I'll rest my case, madam.
This is really amazing. Sumit, thanks again for all the updates and very unique, updates. Ladies and gentlemen, we now move to critical mineral sector. We have two speakers in this, and may I now invite Mr. Rishabh Jain, Senior Program Lead, Council on Energy, Environment and Water, CEEW. Rishabh leads the Technology Futures Program at the CEW. His expertise revolves around critical minerals, renewable energy deployment, supply chain, and manufacturing. Now, Rishabh, many countries in the LAC region are exploring ways to strengthen institutional capacity, improve mineral resource mapping, and accelerate investment readiness for critical minerals. And how can India's experience in setting up initiatives like the National Center for Mineral Mapping and facilitating multi-agency coordination be leveraged through international partnerships to support similar efforts in the region? Over to you.
Thank you, Mridula, and to ISA for the kind invitation. I'm Rishabh Jain, and I work for a policy think tank in India on critical minerals. We are also the knowledge partner to the Ministry of Mines, and I would want to share that earlier this year in January, the Government of India came up with a National Critical Minerals Mission, which is a scheme that supports the development of the critical minerals across the whole value chain, from exploration, mining to up to recycling, including processing. And the overall budgetary outlay for this particular scheme is approximately $1.9 billion over the next 7 years. Additionally, the government expects that there will be additional $2 billion of investment in overseas mining in various countries. India has already set up some collaborations with Argentina, and there are more active discussions that are happening with various LAC members itself. Now, the focus on critical minerals was re-emphasized, I would say, specifically in India during the India's G20 presidency, but more so after the COVID, when we realized how dependent our supply chains are to a few countries. And that is where India started to actively look into how do you start manufacturing, building a local supply chain, but also start thinking about the need for recycling. And that is where the Ministry of Mines, because they're responsible for mining and critical minerals, started to take certain actions. And in the last couple of years, there are a few things that the government has taken up, which is very important, not just for India, but for many other countries across the world. One, we identified critical minerals for India. Now, this, of course, varies from country to country. There are few countries across the world which have a list. Some may have minerals as less as 10, some may have 50 plus, but it really depends on what are the priorities of the government in the short to medium term, because this list also should regularly be updated. Now, once you have a list, it means that the whole of government approach is possible, saying that what various ministries can do to solve for those and also then accordingly prioritize certain actions. So once the list was ready, say for instance, India included lithium in the critical minerals list, but before that, the lithium was considered as an atomic mineral based on how it was found, which then meant that there were certain institutional structures that had to be changed so that now general mining can happen. Otherwise, there were tons of permissions that were required. So you remove the permissions, make ease of mining, ease of general doing business better. Again, it really depends on country to country, but I'm just giving you one example of lithium. And once that was done, it was easy for state governments in India and also the central government to start auctioning the existing mineral resource. At the same time, India knew that in the past, many of the minerals which were categorized as critical minerals were not necessarily formed or found in India. So two things, right? We supported and we continue to support the existing institutions like the GSI, Geological Survey of India, the IBM, Indian Bureau of Mines, to explore and find more critical minerals. So there's a real emphasis in terms of budgetary reallocation that, okay, these institutions have existed for over 100 years, but now the government, through changes in certain policies and by nudges, are trying to prioritize critical minerals in their broader scheme of things. So there are certain skills that are being developed because many of these minerals are deep-seated and are also found in very limited concentration. So you redesign some of these institutions, reprioritize. But at the same time, new institution like Kabil was set up. Now, this is one particular institution that partners with international governments and international private agencies and potentially invest either in exploration or mining projects. The number of projects, of course, has been limited, but of course, there's more to what Kabil would necessarily do in India. So you also set up a new institution itself. Um, Once the national critical mineral was launched, what India did was and has now set up centers of excellence for processing and developing certain capabilities. So now all of us are aware that there's huge dependency on the mineral processing because all the capabilities and the technology prowess exist in China. And we have also seen in the recent times that unless and until the whole value chain exists in any country, it is very difficult for investors to go and invest itself. So through centers of excellence, India is now focusing on R&D. There's specific money that has been allocated, but India is also now setting up processing parks with the state government itself. So you redefine some of these institutions, set up new institutions, and work with these, but also with international partners to solve for this. I would, if Mridula, just take a couple of more minutes because we are talking about LAC in Caribbean countries. What is that we have seen successful in India and maybe other parts of the world? I would want to highlight that there is a clear trend to increasing the value add. We even during India's G20 presidency, in the communique that came out, there was a clear mention that G20 countries collectively will work towards increasing the domestic value add wherever critical minerals are found, which of course makes sense. But I would also now want to caution, there are many leaders from across various countries that are there, that too much dependence on external countries is something that we need to be very careful when we are developing any domestic sector. And we have seen this with the tariffs that US has been imposing. There are certain rollbacks in terms of schemes like IRA, because of the eligibility of the subsidies under IRA, many projects were coming across the world. Now, once the IRA is scrapped, many of these projects and their viability also goes down the drain. And similarly, we have seen certain technology and export ban from China. Recently, we saw for batteries, we saw for rare earth magnets and rare earth itself, where the government has said that they would require permissions. Now, what this means is that many countries, including India, which would have thought that we would want to diversify, we would want to indigenize, this itself becomes a bummer. And unless and until there is an anchor market. So I would also say that any country that is planning to do significant value add needs to ensure that there is a significant anchor market. So if there are battery technologies or you would want to manufacture batteries in any country, please ensure and complement it with a EV policy that makes it easier for the battery manufacturers to deploy batteries in domestic manufactured EVs. Because if that does not happen, all your jobs, all the economy, and all the subsidies that you would have put in is completely dependent on a country which you are not necessarily sure what will happen sooner or later. Secondly, what we have seen, because of significant decrease in prices of solar, batteries, wind turbines, etc., it is very difficult for new players, including we have seen in India, to match the prices. The solar module prices are at 10 cents per watt peak. Battery prices for lithium-ion batteries are $60-70 per kilowatt hour. And for any new player to start manufacturing at a very small quantity, it is impossible. And unless and until, again, there is an anchor market, it is difficult to set up that facility. So does it make sense to subsidize domestic manufacturing for a small period of time, or maybe focus more on deployment? Are questions that needs to be discussed actively, because there's public money that is involved and which has competing use cases. So I'll stop here, Mridula. Thank you.
Thank you, Rishabh. This is super informative, and thank you for your deep insights. Ladies and gentlemen, our last speaker, who will be covering very important sector, Dr. Abhinav Mathur. He's head of strategic initiatives at TIRO. He's an expert in circular economy and critical materials recovery, currently leading strategic initiatives at TIRO Recycling, India's largest e-waste and lithium-ion battery recycling company. Welcome, Abhinav. So the question for you is technology and best practices related. What are the most promising innovations in lithium-ion battery recycling and repurposing across the value chain, from collection to material recovery, and how can these be scaled globally to reduce dependence on virgin mining of critical materials like lithium, cobalt, and nickel, which go into the lithium battery? Over to you, Abhinav.
Right. Thank you very much, Mridula, for this opportunity. And, I really am very delighted to be among such a, such a great panel. And we are sharing some very important insights, which will be very important for, for the renewable energy space specifically. The question that you've asked is extremely important. I think it's very critical that technology be of great focus when we come to, sort of recycling technology, especially around lithium-ion batteries, given the fact that, all projections say that the amount of lithium, cobalt, etc., which is required going in the future is going to be very, very significant. And, like my previous speaker, Rishabh, had pointed out, I think the dependence, the over dependence on certain nations is starting to become a very important determinant or decision point to determine as to what each country should be doing. When I look at how the sector has evolved, I think largely recycling was a very pyro focused sort of activity. But in the recent past, there have been many more innovations when it has come to lithium-ion batteries, recycling, and we have seen certain things evolving. When we compare these technologies, pyro becomes, one of the things that has scaled, but unfortunately, the extraction efficiency, the number of metals that you can recover is always a challenge. There is another technology which is around direct recovery of cathode. But what we have seen in that particular case is that given the fact that it takes 7 to 8 years for a battery to go end of life, and after that, when you're extracting the cathode directly, it does not make a lot of relevance, essentially because technology has moved by then, and cathodes would have changed, battery technologies would have changed, and it doesn't really gel well if you have extracted a cathode which is 7-year-old technology. What has really started to become the most important technology and is being adopted by most of the players globally. Of course, China still remains to be one of the biggest players in this particular space, is hydrometallurgy. Using hydrometallurgy, we have seen, and at least in the case of Atero, we have seen the technology evolve over a period of time. And today, I'm very, very happy to report that literally we are able to extract every single element which is there in a lithium-ion battery. Be it the copper, aluminum, which is there in the casing, whether it's there in the lining, and the thin films which are there between cathode and anodes, to the actual material when it comes to graphite, lithium, cobalt, nickel, manganese, even titanium is something that we are able to extract. What I'm happy to report is that we are able to extract more than 98% of the material from the lithium-ion battery. And even more exciting is the fact that we are able to extract it at battery grade. So we are able to extract it at 99.95%, up to 99.95% of purity. So therefore, we can use it at the highest level use case. And given the fact that we are in the renewable space, another important factor is that the environmental impact for the technology, specifically hydrometallurgy, is extremely low. So we are able to extract that while maintaining GHG emissions, the carbon equivalents, to be less than 60 to 70% of virgin mining, which is something which is exceptional, I think. And when it comes to the other areas that we look at when we're looking at the extraction or the recycling of lithium-ion batteries, I think what is extremely important is that we need to look at how we can ensure that there is a complete visibility of the material flow in the ecosystem. And what India has been able to do, of course, Europe was the innovator in that they created a battery passport. In India, we have created something called the Battery Aadhaar, which is done by the Department of Science and Technology, and working with a lot of government as well as private players. We are now in a position where we are starting to see the implementation of that. There is a pilot which has started, and we are very, very hopeful that by that we will be able to ensure that we have visibility of the material, and that the moment that material is unused or it has reached end of life, we should be able to recycle that. So that's one thing which has really started to play up. The second thing which I have seen, and I think it's of great promise, is the fact that the Ministry of Environment and Forests has come up with a sort of a labeling requirement that whenever there is a battery, it should be labeled with what kind of material is there, how much is the material present in that battery, so that there are benchmarks which are set and which are ensured that the material which has been put in is extracted properly. There is, of course, Second Life also, which is under discussion, very significant. In fact, today afternoon itself, there was a very detailed deliberation around the battery waste management rules. And one was looking at how can we support the Second Life, especially in the case of solar. I think a lot of EV batteries will come and will be used in low and, let's say, less critical use cases of solar. And there are now talks of regulation coming in, the quality checks to be put in place, the end of life of Second Life battery is also starting to being discussed. I think these are very, very important interventions which will ensure that the space is benefited and the consumer also is able to extract the maximum. There is one regulation which I would like to specifically talk about while my focus was on technology, and I've spoken about technology already. One regulation which has really worked for India, and I think there is similar thing happening in the EU as well, is the EPR. And in India, there is a very significant sort of alteration being done to the EPR, where the recyclers, the producers, etc., are being sort of brought into discussions to figure out what is the right price at which this this entire thing has to happen. And I think that will be very important, given the fact that we are not we are not at this point in time always in a viability range when it comes to recycling. It becomes very important that somebody takes on the responsibility of funding this. In fact, solar panel recycling itself has started to get a lot of attention. MNRE has come up with a lot of sort of grants, etc., for this particular purpose. And even solar panel recycling is not viable at this point in time. The good thing is that the government of India has come up with a lot of schemes where they want to support and provide funding for development of technologies. There is a Center for Excellence for Critical Minerals, Rare Earths being set up at this point in time, so that more and more sort of technologies could be developed. I think while there is a great progress which has been made through hydrometallurgy, but I think there is even more in store, and artificial intelligence is starting to sort of being brought in. One technology that we have started to work on, especially in the case of solar panels, is also to have on-site recycling of solar panels, so that the logistical cost and the transportation cost does not make it unviable. So these are some things that sort of are happening. Would be happy to take any questions which are there, but this is where I would like to sort of stop my input.
Thanks a lot, Abhinav, for sharing your thoughts, and this is really amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our session. I'm afraid due to constraint of time, we are unable to have any interaction with the panelists. But as I mentioned in the beginning, anybody who would like to, have a follow-up conversation with our panelists, please let us know, and we will be more than happy to connect. And on behalf of the ISA, I extend my sincere gratitude to all esteemed speakers, member country officials, and participants for your time, insights, and commitment to driving forward the green energy agenda. Thank you once again. We close the session now.
Thanks.
Excellencies, distinguished delegates, thank you so much for those very engaging and interesting conversations, insights. We'll move ahead. I have my colleagues here who shall be happy to serve you tea and coffee in the room. With the conclusion of this, we take this opportunity to thank all the panelists here at the head table for their participation. The next session is Activating Youth Entrepreneurship, Scaling in the Digital Era, Startups and Success. While we'll just take a quick 5 minutes reset, allowing for the next panel to join the head table. So please be with us. We will begin the session in 5. Thank you so much.
Yeah, sure. Panels here. I will. Okay. We'll take another quick 1 minute to settle in before we start the next session on the SolarX Startup Challenge. We've divided the session into 3 parts. It's going to be a very fast-paced session. The first part is going to be of high-level interventions. The second part will be where the SolarX startup winners are going to be talking to you. And the third part is how you can apply to this challenge. I'll take 1 more minute and we begin. Hold fast to dreams, for if dreams die, life's a broken winged bird that cannot fly. Hold fast to dreams, for if dreams go, life's a dry, barren field frozen with snow. And today's session on entrepreneurship, youth, and the exciting SolarX Startup Challenge dares us to dream, to ideate, and bring those ideas to life. Honorable Minister Ms. James, Ambassador Olio, our very dynamic DG Mr. Khanna, esteemed panelists Andreas, Julio, Felipe, and Ruth, countries, ISA friends, and my fellow advocates of a very bright solar future. Hola, namaste, and welcome to the SolarX Startup Challenge, where we celebrate the power of solar innovations across the globe. The DG recently stated about ISA's vision to move from ambition to action, and this program is a live example of how solar innovators, how these disruptors are changing the world for better. Entrepreneurship is about the 3 I's: ideas, investments, and incubation. Today we've got investors, we've got entrepreneurs, and we've got a brilliant room full of enticing minds. In this very fast-paced 90-minute session, we will hear from the excellencies, we'll hear from the investment gurus, and then we will go on to the SolarX innovations from Africa, India, and Chile. Honorable countries, the Startup Challenge is led by you. It is for you, and it will be housed by you. Through this program, ISA will be honoring 20 innovations who would be announced at COP30 in Belém later this year. We're already sitting at a pool of 100+ applicants from 16 countries in your region, and we expect many more to come. But let me start with inviting our DG, Mr. Ashish Khanna, for his opening remarks. Our Director General is a distinguished leader in the global energy sector with over 26 years of experience spanning public and private sectors across more than 15 developing countries. In his role, he's led Mission 300. Our dynamic DG holds a Master in Public Administration from the Harvard Kennedy School and is known to be a disruptor in a good way. Sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Pragya. I would like to be known as enabling disruptors. By being a disruptor myself, I would say that as all of you, as senior people and staff and management, CEOs, ministers would appreciate, our processes and systems do not allow scale up often. And that is where I feel the youth, the women, and a lot of innovative ideas are needed to shake the existing system. What are the different things that are really possible by doing a youth and innovation ecosystem development, where SolarX is a very important part? Is first, it can find what are scalable business models that are still not happening. And I can tell you that after working in Africa for a long time, a scalable distributed renewable energy model on mini grid has taken 6 or 7 years. And they were not done by largest companies. They were done by small startups. People who started with 1 or 2 mini grids and are now doing 100 want to do 10,000. So how would business models emerge will be done by youth, startups. What role would new technologies mean for your countries can also be probably done better by startups rather than by some of the largest utilities that you have. So does green hydrogen, storage, perovskite, BIPV have a future in your countries? Probably the youth and the startups would decide that by being the disruptors. So SolarX started in Africa. We have 20 startups. Then we have 10 from India, 20 from Asia Pacific. 50 of them are currently working with some initial support, now being mentored by venture capital funds and mentors on what would a scale-up look like. We are very glad that this has been launched in Latin America and Caribbean this year. And the big purpose of actually having this session right in the RCM is to enhance the visibility of how we would really like your countries to own this agenda. If you want to do a country-specific dissemination session, we'll be delighted, because we are really hoping the young people from your countries can come out with ideas and business models that will not only help get sustainable energy for your countries, but probably be the next Amazons and $100 million, billion-dollar companies. That's something what the developing world potential is all about. So I really look forward to a good discussion, but more importantly, please use this session to get the youth in your own respective countries excited about this agenda. 20 startups is just a start, just to make sure the momentum gets going. Eventually, the opportunities are endless. Thank you very much. Back to you, Pragya.
Thank you, sir, and really appreciate by saying that, let's be a good disruptor so that we can actually promote solar innovations across the globe. I would now request Her Excellency, Madam Kerry James, who's been a champion in walking the talk, a powerful woman, an innovator, and a leader combined in one. She's a powerhouse herself. She very graciously launched the SolarX Latam Challenge at COP last year in Baku and holds innovations close to her heart. As we all know, she's also recognized as the youngest parliamentarian in Grenada country's history. Ma'am, over to you.
Thank you so very much, Mistress of Ceremony. I recognize the Director General and my colleagues at the head table. Good morning to you guys. It is an honor and a privilege of mine to give some brief featured remarks, especially after chairing the 7th meeting of the ISA Regional Committee yesterday. I think the energy, the conviction, and clarity demonstrated by all delegates and new members reaffirmed the powerful truth. Our region is ready. We are not just here to participate or participating in clean energy futures, but we are here to shape it. And so your commitment and your presence here this morning really underscores that powerful truth. I stand before you not only as the Minister for Climate Resilience, Environment and Renewable Energy of Grenada, but as a young leader from a small island developing state that understands with painful intimacy what climate vulnerability means when it is no longer theoretical, but devastatingly real. Grenada, like many of my sister nations, has endured historic droughts, deadly flash floods, and most recently the wrath of a Category 4 hurricane named Beryl last year. all while still grappling with volatile fossil fuel dependence and limited fiscal space. But where there is adversity, ladies and gentlemen, there is also audacity. And that audacity is what defines this moment. And so the SolarX Startup Challenge is not simply a competition, but it is a statement of intent. It is ISA's flagship initiative to crowdsource, incubate, and elevate the most promising solar innovations born in our region by our people and for our shared future. It also recognizes what we have long known, that talent is abundant across Latin America and the Caribbean region, and what has often been scarce are the platforms, the partnerships, and patent capital to unlock that potential. Through grants, acceleration, support, mentorship, and global exposure, I believe that SolarX is cultivating a new generation of climate entrepreneurs and solar engineers, technologists with purpose, and business leaders with a conscience. These are not just startups, but they are blueprints for the inclusive, decentralized, and digital energy systems we urgently need in our Caribbean region. So let me be clear, ladies and gentlemen. This is not charity. It is smart, strategic investment. The region's greatest energy asset is not just solar irradiation, but it is human potential, especially that of our youth. And if we are serious about a just energy transition, then youth entrepreneurship must be central to our strategies, not peripheral. But to truly activate this potential, ladies and gentlemen, we must get the architecture right. That means embedding green and digital skills across education systems from the primary level right up to the tertiary level. It also means creating de-risking mechanisms for local innovators to experiment, fail fast, and scale. It also means building regional innovation hubs where youth can prototype, they can test and collaborate across borders, and of course, designing financial ecosystems that do not treat youth-led businesses as liabilities, but as the smartest long-term bets for our collective resilience and prosperity as a region. So SolarX is one such architecture, and it is working, and you would hear the testimonies later on. With over 50 startups supported across Africa and the Asia Pacific regions, we are now extending that success to the Latin America and the Caribbean region, not as an afterthought, but as a region of strategic priority. As I shared in my closing remarks yesterday, I believe the urgency before us cannot be overstated. Our region faces the double jeopardy of climate exposure and energy insecurity. And yet, we also have one of the strongest renewable energy resource bases in the world, especially solar. What we need now is not more pilot projects, but platforms at scale. Not more rhetoric, but resourcing, rigor, and results. We must champion digital transformation not just as a tool, but as the very foundation of our energy systems. And we must ensure that youth are not merely participants in this transformation, but the leaders of it. So Grenada is doing our part as a country. We are investing in rooftop solar, battery storage, grid modernization, and electric mobility. We are mainstreaming climate action across every sector of governance, but we are under no illusion that we cannot do this alone. No country can, and that is why ISA's work is indispensable, especially in convening platforms like SolarX. And so I am happy to say that Grenada, as a country in the Caribbean region, is excited to lead the charge to have a SolarX specifically tailored for small island developing states, and we are going to work out the details and the logistics of that underneath our country partnership framework with the ISA. And so, to the young entrepreneurs here today who are joining us virtually, and to the young ones at heart in the room, and those tuning in from across the region, the sun is rising on our generation. And we are not the leaders of tomorrow. It is testament that we are leaders of today. It is testament that we are innovators of the now, and that our ideas really and truly matters. Our voice matters, our courage matters. And so I want us to lean into this moment with boldness and know that we are not only watching as leaders, but we are walking and talking and making the actions with you. So let us rise to the challenge before us, not only because the stakes are high, but because the solutions are within our reach. The Caribbean and Latin America region are not waiting. We are digitizing, we are decentralizing, and we are delivering. And I believe together through the Solar X Startup Challenge, we will build a solar revolution rooted in resilience, driven by youth and women, and powered by purpose. So with that, I want to say thank you so very much for indulging me, and I wish the Solar X Challenge the great success, because I know it's good for our people and for the movement ahead. So thank you.
Thank you, Excellency, for highlighting that the smart strategic investment coupled with digitization needs to become a key, and here's to innovators of now. And now we have His Excellency Mr. Juan Angulo, the Ambassador of Chile to India since 2019, a seasoned diplomat with over 36 years of experience in the Chilean Foreign Service. Ambassador Angulo has played a pivotal role in strengthening the Indo-Chilean ties across trade, agriculture, climate change, renewable energy, and innovation. Sir, the floor is all yours.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. I would like very much to congratulate the Minister, because your passionate statement gives me a lot of confidence that we are in very good hands for the future to tackle this problem. No? You are women, young women, parliamentarian, and very much engaged in all these problematics. So thank you very much. I would like to thank the International Solar Alliance for the promotion of innovation, entrepreneurships, and regional cooperation in the field of renewable energy, and especially for promoting young talent through the Solar X Startup Challenge 2025. I think that is one of the key points to tackle, and in the future, I'm sure the solutions will come from young people that are now looking at the future and saying, we need to do something. That maybe is a generational vision that it was maybe not there couple of generations ago, but now I feel that that young people have really taken this problem into their own hands. In Chile, we are convinced that the energy transition is not only an environmental necessity, but also an excellent opportunity for economic and social development. This is especially important in the long-term perspective, and thus for the participation of young talents in every one of our countries. As you know, our electricity matrix has undergone a structural change in the last decade, with solar energy taking the undisputed lead among other non-conventional renewable energies. This progress has been made possible thanks to a long-term vision and sustained government policies that have been maintained regardless of the normal political changes that every country has every couple of years. This includes regulatory incentives, public funding, and partnerships with the private sector and citizens. But above all, this has been possible with the participation by the people who will drive the change: entrepreneurs, researchers, energy sector workers, and especially young people who have been given the opportunity to create and find innovative solutions in a regulated environment. The future of our region's energy must be built with greater participation from young people. To achieve sustainable, safe, and fair development, we need the experts of tomorrow to be engaged from today in this transformation process. It's in the same line of what our minister just mentioned. We need the experts of tomorrow be engaged from today in this transformation process. Hence, the need to foster the creation of human capital in our countries. Our peoples are creative. Latin America and the Caribbean is a region with huge creativity, educated, innovative, and committed to the territory and to the climate emergency. Across countries, this is a reality, and we think that we have a great opportunity because our peoples are young people. Chile has extraordinary solar potential, more than 1,000 gigawatts estimated nationwide, which areas as Antofagasta and Atacama among those with the highest radiation in the world. However, all this potential can only become a reality if we connect our natural resources with innovation, with technology and new ideas that will tackle existing problems. The link between these new ideas and our young population is crucial. In this way, we deeply value initiatives as the Solar X Challenge, which brings together startups, students, and entrepreneurs seeking concrete solutions for access, distribution, storage, and efficiency. In short, we try to democratize the energy and put it at the service of people. That is one of the mottos of our Ministry of Energy, the democratization of the access to energy. As a state, we are committed to this agenda and the promotion of an ecosystem that will incentivate startups to improve, to expand, and to boost the impact of current programs installed by the government, like the rooftops for social housing, better schools through better solar infrastructure, solar rooftops in public buildings, incentives for distributed generation and financing in agricultural areas. This is one of the programs that we are implementing right now. All these are a part of our strategy to expand the use of solar energy and the implementation of startups that will increase their effectiveness. Today, more than ever, we need to collaborate in this field as a region. Again, we offer to the countries of the region in this area the experience of our program, Startup Chile, which has more than a decade of success stories of entrepreneurship and has several programs, from seeds to ignite to growth, that are eligible for solar-related projects. Minister was just mentioned the need to create platforms. Solar, our startup programs could be one platform complementary to the one created by Solar X from ISA. The energy transition is a global challenge, but the solutions must come from our territories, based in our own realities and our own capabilities. This is precisely we find the strength of initiatives such as Solar X. We hope that the startups, we hope the students and young innovators from Latin America and the Caribbean will join this initiative. From Chile, you can count on our ongoing commitment to sustainability and regional cooperation in clean energy and foster the capacity of finding solutions through our young talents and entrepreneurs. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Excellency. And may I also highlight that right now we're at a very good stage wherein more than 10 startups from Chile have already registered. And I totally echo when you say that we need solutions which are looking at the future, which should be sustainable, innovative, and safe. So thank you for this. I would request everyone to get a little engaged into the SolarX startup session, because now we will be showing a little movie. Also, we will be changing the language to Spanish now. And I would request everyone to use their headsets right in front of you. Look at the little brochure that has been kept at your desk also for SolarX. But let me also walk you through the SolarX journey in the form of a movie, wherein we had the African, APAC, and Indian startups talk about what they felt. And it not only looks at promoting innovation, but it also creates a platform for these entrepreneurs to talk to each other, to get access to world-class markets, and to raise financing through world-class VCs. Can we play the movie now?
In 2022, at COP27, the International Solar Alliance launched SolarX Startup Challenge, a global movement to supercharge solar innovation in ISA member countries. Our mission is simple yet bold. Crowdsource cost-effective, scalable solar solutions that bridge the gap between potential and deployment, empowering local innovators, accelerating entrepreneurship, and driving the clean energy revolution. More than a challenge, SolarX is an ecosystem backed by partners like Ministry for New and Renewable Energy, Bloomberg Philanthropies, Children Investment Fund Foundation, Global Association for the Off-Grid Solar Energy Industry, Invest India, Sequoia Climate Foundation, and World Association of Investment Promotion Agencies, bringing grants, capacity building, market incubation, and global investor connections. The inaugural Africa edition in 2023 received 182 applications from 28 countries. Out of these, 20 startups emerged victorious, including 7 women-led ventures, addressing everything from smart cooling to off-grid solar systems. Building on success in Africa, SolarX expanded to Asia-Pacific in 2024, spotlighting India with over 270 applicants across the region. From 30 winners, 10 were Indian startups. Each received a USD 15,000 grant, technical acceleration, mentorship, and investor connections. In May 2025, the SolarX Startup Challenge launched its Latin America and Caribbean edition at the COP29 to bring the region's brightest solar innovators into the global spotlight. Applications are open and will be accepted until August 15, 2025. If you're a startup driving solar solutions, this is your chance to access 10 months of acceleration, hands-on technical support, and exclusive exposure to global investors.
Thank you. We'll be switching to Spanish now, and may I now invite Mr. Andres McKenna, the Director for LAC at IDOM, which is a leading consulting firm in the region. Mr. McKenna has an architecture degree from the Chile University and a master's in management of construction at ETSOM. IDOM is helping us on ground and working with governments to find scalable solutions across the region. Andres, the floor is all yours.
Buenos días a todos. Muchas gracias por la invitación. Es un honor para nosotros como IDOM estar hoy aquí en este encuentro anual. Queríamos iniciar por presentarnos. Somos una compañía de consultoría e ingeniería que tiene multinacional, que tiene casi 70 años, y ISA nos ha encargado este increíble desafío de apoyar, digamos, el desarrollo de este SolarX Startup Challenge. Estamos muy contentos de poder participar. Vamos a aprovechar como IDOM. Tenemos una presencia muy fuerte en la región. Somos 1.500 personas repartidas prácticamente en todos los países de la región y venimos desde hace más de 25 años trabajando en el sector de las energías renovables y bueno, específicamente en el sector de energía solar, desde los primeros proyectos en España fotovoltaicos, pasando por termosolar, después pasando a tecnologías híbridas, hidrógeno verde, y hemos estado acompañando, digamos, este proceso desde hace mucho tiempo. Por otro lado, desde nuestra área de consultoría e innovación, siempre venimos apoyando a instituciones, tanto públicas como privadas, a generar entornos habilitantes para el desarrollo de startups y propuestas de innovación que ayudan, digamos, a desarrollar esta industria, y es por esto que estamos muy contentos de estar hoy aquí. Como decía la ministra y el embajador, los desafíos son enormes en este campo. Tenemos, digamos, un enorme desafío en la región, una región que tenemos un ecosistema, digamos, y una gran biodiversidad que vinculada también a un desarrollo económico muy vinculado a industrias extractivas. Entonces hay un gran desafío de cómo compatibilizar, digamos, este desarrollo económico con un cuidado del medio ambiente y acciones que nos ayuden a mitigar el cambio climático. Entonces, en este desafío es donde la innovación y las startups pueden jugar un papel clave, y es por eso que estamos muy contentos de poder acompañar en este proceso a ISA. Dejo ahora a la moderadora del panel para que sigamos adelante con este panel. Muchas gracias.
Muy buenos días a todos. Mi nombre es Mónica Mejía, hago parte de la firma consultora IDOM, soy consultora en innovación y como les comentaba Andrés, somos los encargados de desarrollar y ejecutar esta convocatoria en América Latina y el Caribe. Vamos a comenzar la segunda sesión de esta sesión, la segunda parte de esta sesión que está conformada por un panel. Vamos a hacer una ronda de preguntas. Nuestro panel está conformado por diferentes expertos y actores importantes alrededor de la cadena de energía solar y pues la idea es que podamos aprovechar esta conversación para enriquecernos como en conocimientos y en los diferentes puntos desde los cuales cada uno se para en esta cadena de valor. Y en segundo lugar, vamos a estarles contando a más profundidad de qué se trata el Solar X Startup Challenge en América Latina y el Caribe. Bueno, América Latina y el Caribe es una de las regiones del mundo con mayor potencial en cuanto a energías renovables. Los países de esta región han desarrollado proyectos de inversión pública y privada para llevar a cabo una transición energética hacia energías limpias y así contribuir a la mitigación del cambio climático. La energía solar, puntualmente, es una de las fuentes de energía renovables más abundantes en la región porque es una región que tiene muchas horas de sol al día y que esto debe aprovecharse. Esto le entrega una ventaja competitiva frente a otras regiones del mundo. En este contexto, se han venido desarrollando acciones y estrategias sostenibles para implementar instalaciones solares, fotovoltaicas y de energía solar concentrada con el objetivo de alcanzar la neutralidad del carbono para el año 2050. Teniendo en cuenta este contexto, y pues no me quisiera alargar más en ese punto porque ya tuvimos una mirada desde las palabras que nos daban antes, quisiera introducir a Felipe Saliba. Él es jefe de la Unidad de Gestión del Conocimiento y Fortalecimiento de Capacidades en ISA. Lidera iniciativas globales para impulsar la transición energética solar sostenible mediante innovación, formación y cooperación y tiene más de 20 años de experiencia internacional en gestión de proyectos en Brasil, Francia, Bélgica e India. Su trayectoria abarca la transformación digital, la sostenibilidad y la innovación, como les mencionaba. Felipe, América Latina y el Caribe han mostrado una transición en los últimos 10 años que ha sido lenta pero sostenida. Según el Effective Energy Transition Score del World Economic Forum, en los últimos años ha habido un aumento en la implementación de energía solar de 3 puntos porcentuales. Quisiera saber cómo funciona ISA como plataforma para impulsar la innovación solar en los países miembros, puntualmente en América Latina, y apoyar como a que esta transición sea más efectiva y tal vez más rápida. Y también en ese orden de ideas, por favor, cuéntanos sobre StarC.
Thank you. Thank you, moderator, for the question. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Generally speaking, in Latin America, but it's a common point, I think it's across the globe. When you talk about transformation and startups, it's important to talk about promoting financial help, support to startups, but it's also important to see beyond capital. It's in our vision in ISA, in how we see the next phase for Solar X is it's about capacity building and how to scale up in a sustainable way the journey of the startups. As you may know, probably most of you know, we have a program called StarC, the Solar Technology and Resources Center. And one of our main objectives currently is the integration of both programs. Because it's important to promote, like Solar X there's a strong capacity to attract startups and provide this financial support. But the main thing in which I personally believe is the possibility to attract talent as well, and a startup to be scaled. They need to create a pool of talents. They need to build attract good people to help to grow their businesses. And StarC has a great connection with the SolarX program to support the startups in the journey. I will briefly introduce, for whom doesn't know the StarC, the Solar Technology and Applications Centers are ISA-supported hubs hosted in local academical and technical institutions, and they serve for key functions. The first one is capacity building, promoting training for technicians, professionals, and entrepreneurs. A second function for StarC promoting incubation of startups, and knowledge management, capturing best practices, and facilitating learning across borders. So based on in academic environment is a major advantage that StarCs have access to research infrastructure, motivated students, and faculty expertise. This setting creates continual flow of talent, creativity, and experimentation that are critical elements for startups' ecosystems. It also ensures that solar entrepreneurship is not one-time activity supported by ISA, but part of an ongoing learning and innovation rooted in the region. And why integration with SolarX matter? Because SolarX startup identifies ambitious innovators in solar, but to scale these startups need more visibility and need support. And this is where StarCs becomes essential. When aligned with SolarX and StarC provides the human resources and training platforms needed for startup growth, the facilities and technical expertise to develop and facilitate and validate technologies, a trusted interface with communities, and ensure stakeholders to ensure adoption, and a regional and international network to scale across borders. One of the most critical enablers, again, here is talent. By connecting SolarX startups with students, researchers, and skilled professionals trained, we create a dynamic environment where innovation is accelerated by fresh ideas and hands-on energy. So startups don't need just funding. This is how we see beyond. They need people ready to build, test, and adapt, and grow with them. So this vision is clear. We want that every SolarX entrepreneur to see StarC their first partner, a trusted place to find skills, test ideas, and build connections. We want every StarC, in another hand side, to be more than training center, but a launching pad for inclusive, locally grounded, but globally connected innovation.
Gracias, Felipe. Bueno, continuamos con Mr. Pratap. Él es socio fundador de Climate Collective, nos acompaña de forma remota. Climate Collective es una organización sin ánimo de lucro que apoya startups de tecnología climática en el sur global. Graduado de Harvard y de Oxford, tiene experiencia en finanzas, emprendimiento y energía renovable. Desde 2016 ha impulsado más de 90 programas que han apoyado a más de 1,270 startups. Mr. Pratap, gracias por estar aquí. La pregunta que quisiéramos hacerle hoy es, ¿cómo ha sido el trabajo con las startups con las que usted ha tenido contacto alrededor del mundo, cuáles son los riesgos a los que usted ha identificado que se enfrentan y las condiciones que más hacen que ellas puedan florecer. Y en último lugar, la idea no es como atacarte mucho de preguntas, pero para que las puedas abordar todas, has sido evaluador de etapas previas del SolarX. Cuéntanos un poco de esta experiencia.
Great, thank you. Buenos días a todos. That's the extent of my Spanish, but thank you so much. I'm very happy to be here. I've been associated with SolarX and supporting the program in Asia and Africa in the past, and here on the evaluation committee as well. Let me quickly share with you a little bit of my experience working with startups, and then my experience working with SolarX. I believe I have to share my screen. So give me 1 second. I'll be very brief here. Great. Okay, great. So we are a nonprofit. We started in supporting clean tech startups in India 9 years ago. There were very few clean tech startups or solar tech startups in the global south at all. It's a relatively new phenomenon. 9 years ago, there were 50 odd clean tech startups in India. Now, at least as Climate Collective, we've accelerated 1,270 clean tech startups and 90 accelerators. It's been an explosion of activity in the last few years, especially in India, and in the last few years, increasingly in other parts of the global south. So right now we are the largest support organization for clean tech. We're active in India, South Asia, Southeast Asia, East Africa, Indian Ocean Rim, last year in Colombia. This month I'm in Guyana, looking at building out entrepreneurship here, both in Guyana and the region. My kids are actually half Guyanese, half Indian Guyanese, so I have a personal connection to the region as well. I want to share just one thing, my experience working with clean tech. Clean tech, I mean, including solar tech. It is a complicated ecosystem. We have accelerators. Okay, I run accelerators. We have deployment programs. Capital is required across different types, grants, early stage capital, VC, growth, debt, etc. We need more entrepreneurs, especially from youth, so startup schools, etc., and a lot of community activity, whether events, etc. Here's what it looks like for us. It's a set of multiple types of accelerators. There's no single accelerator that works. We have accelerators for women. We have accelerators for early stage, late stage. We have accelerators for sectors like power sector, etc. And of course, capital is also complicated. Now, as a gentleman before we mentioned, capital is necessary but not sufficient. It is this ecosystem needed, for example, on policy research. For most of my experience working across the global south, working with startups is relatively new to most governments. They need research support to understand, if I support startups, what are the green outcomes? Or maybe vice versa, because oftentimes, if you see the data, startups become increasingly the jobs, play a role in creating jobs in this green transition, something that most or all governments do support. We do a lot of events. Events have become extremely important. Last year, I think 4,000 people came to our startup events in 8 countries, and I think 20 cities, etc. Just very quickly, we do get a lot of support from multiple funders, etc. We work with a lot of partners, and there's a lot of development and government initiatives that we work with as well. This is what an ecosystem looks like. This is what Latin America is building and should continue to build. My own experience, I've been here, I've been looking at the region for about 9 years, or 7 to 9 years. I've been working here about a year and a half. It is relatively underdeveloped. And the reason why is this is hard work. It's not easy in clean tech. Clean tech has its challenges. One of the strong benefits of SolarX Challenge is that we can focus the partners, the resources, the networks around clean tech or solar tech. Solar tech is hard. It's not consumer internet. It's not downloads. It's business. It's often B2B, meaning business to business, which require long sales cycles. So often that huge pool of private capital is not suitable for solar tech startups. We need to find that capital that is suitable. We need to find the early stage capital that's suitable. Deployment is very specific. We need to find partners who want to deploy our solar tech startups. This requires many partners across the region. One strong advantage of SolarX that ISA is building is it can become a key pole, central pole in which a lot of activity can be designed around or support and be influenced by. So I think when I see some of the startups coming out of Latin America, what I see is often a story of the struggles we faced in India. We still face struggles in India. India is a massive country in startups. 8,000 clean tech startups, widely defined clean tech. But nonetheless, it's a very tough battle. What I see in Latin America is oftentimes early stage challenges, right? The capital is there, but it requires a lot of training to not just the startups capacity training starts, but to the investors. It requires a lot of policy research support to governments to figure out how do I know this support will actually help startups in the region, et cetera. And lastly, something that didn't exist when I started 9 years ago, there is potential for a lot more South-South cooperation. We don't need to recreate programs. We don't need to recreate learnings. There's a lot happening. For example, I know in Brazil, in agritech, a lot that people can learn from. There's a lot happening in IoT and data in India that does not have to be replicated from scratch. So I'm looking very forward to how I can continue to support ISA in the SolarX Challenge, as well as I can support the region LATAM in its build-up in the clean tech ecosystem as well. Thank you very much.
Gracias, Pratap. Ahora tenemos a Ruth Rain. Ella es experta en energía y minería, tiene más de 15 años de experiencia en este tipo de proyectos, es miembro de la Junta Internacional Cactus, es un proyecto que impulsa la cooperación birregional en investigación solar en la Unión Europea y América Latina, ha coordinado proyectos de créditos concesionales donde abarca diagnóstico hasta supervisión de estos mismos proyectos, lidera iniciativas para descarbonizar procesos productivos mediante tecnologías como almacenamiento, electromovilidad e hidrógeno verde, promoviendo modelos de economía circular. Ruth, bienvenida. Queremos preguntarte cuáles son los mecanismos financieros en América Latina a los que pueden acceder las startups en Climate Tech y en Energy Tech.
Muchas gracias, Mónica. Muchas gracias a la organización por la invitación a participar
for the invitation to participate in this interesting conversation. Indeed, what we are observing is that emerging companies must focus on how to minimize risk and how to provide certain certainties for the investors they're seeking. Now, what we can observe today is that there's a whole battery of financial instruments in Latin America that are focused towards minimization of risks or risk reduction. And one of the tools tries to find supporting the early stage of startups. And once they have managed to escalate their development, the company can take debt. But in order to assume debt, in some systems, like the financial Chilean system that is more conservative, they will be they will have to present much more guarantees or guarantee instruments, and some startups don't have that. That's why there are development agencies. As in the case of Chile, we have Corfo, where there are guarantee programs that seek to leverage and develop these startups in financial systems. Now, there are other tools at lower rates, loans with lower rates or long-term. And there's certain synchronicity between the financial flow of the company and the project in itself. That can be observed in several countries. Bancolombia has green loans for this type of development. In Chile, we also have green loans through Corfo or Banco Estado. Different multilateral banking systems are also promoting the development of instruments that seek to create room and flexibility in financial aspects. But the fundamental aspect that crosses the entire financing chain is also related always to risk. But how risky are these operations when there are technology-related risks also? What can we recommend startups or emerging companies to transition in this area with the robust presentation of contracts and testing their technologies and having certainties about the potential buyers? If you have secured maintenance and operations, you are either looking for venture capital or others, but you need to finally decide for banking instruments, and you will be asked about the trends nationwide and worldwide. You are finding more and more dynamic spaces in energy sector with plenty of changes. There are solutions in Asia, in Latin America, in Europe. So one needs to have, as emerging company, a lot of clarity ultimately when facing those arguments with any financial institution. Thank you so much. Up next, we are
de cómo se ven estas innovaciones tecnológicas. Tenemos tres
in
startups.
technology look like. We have three startups, one Chilean, one from India, and one from Africa, that were winners of previous versions of the Solar X Startup Challenge. We'll have Julio Rejon first, with a background in engineering and development of technology solutions, founder and CEO of Simple Map. Julio, please tell us some more. We are going to present your pitch deck now, and please share very briefly what is Simple Map about.
Good day, everybody, and thank you for this invitation. Well, Simple Map, as all startups, was born from the conviction of not really knowing what we were doing, but also with the conviction that we could resolve a problem that existed in the solar industry, especially in photovoltaic plants at a great scale. That means 9,000 panels to 2 million panels, so large scale. And before all this hype on artificial intelligence, we started with very simple mapping. So we started developing artificial intelligence to be able to inspect photovoltaic plants at a great scale. So we started it at a desert, and now we are. So the problem is that the global solar infrastructure is expanding very fast, but faults remain. So it has a loss of 1 to 5% of annual generation due to undetected panel failures. When we're doing inspections with a photographic camera in the panels, and we wanted to innovate because we realized that the extension was too big so we made a more scalable solution to this problem. And the solution was to develop georeferential algorithms. So we started just using Excel. So we did a virtual model on Excel of a photovoltaic plant. So the first one that we did was with 300,000 cells that simulated each one of the panels to be able to georeference them. And now today we use these geographical information systems and other kinds of information and technologies such as artificial intelligence to be able to detect all these faults automatically. We have a market size of around $9 trillion, which is incredible, and not just in solar, but also in companies that operate and maintain these plants. And also when we use drones, we used to use drones, but now we don't have drones because we are completely a software company. And what we are trying to do today is going to other industries such as wind energy, oil and gas as well, which are important for us as a company. How does it work? So we use a drone flight, we upload all the images, and then we do detection with artificial intelligence. We classify the faults and we convert them into a GeoJSON or SHP outputs, and the platform is integrated to any geographical information system. If just any of those clients wants to use that information and use it on another software, now it's on-demand analytics. We are available on the web and also on mobile phones, and we do centimeters. That's the level of the detail. And so our business model is basically pay per area or per megawatt that's been inspected, what is more convenient for us. And we also make discounts depending on the volume and the amount in the contract. Bigger contract, the price is much lower in this economy of scale. And we're not just operating in Chile, but also in 7 countries. And we really believe in bootstrapping as mechanism for growth of startups. I am of entrepreneurs that they have to focus on selling. And we also have different intellectual properties, which are some of the software which we have developed, and we obtained financing from the UNICEF Innovation Fund, which helped us to grow very quickly. And we had an investment of $350,000 and also another one from Corfo of 100,000 more. And our team, we are 4 people and we have 30 operators at a global level. We're also 30 drone operators. And with this team of 4 people, we have been able to operate in all the countries that we operate in as a company. So it is possible whilst we are using strategically. And the vision is now to go into more vertical into the energy industry. And we are focusing on our monetization and the possible acquisition of an energy company. I think that would be really strategic, especially for a Chilean company like us. That's simple map. And once again, thank you very much for the opportunity of being here.
Ahora vamos a darle paso.
Now we're going to give space to 2 winners of the Startup Challenge. And so it's very important to see the role that women have in business, and we're very proud to introduce them. We're going to start off Rija, and she's an architect, and she was recognized as she won the Student Award in 2024, and he wants to create positive impact on street sellers. So we're going to give her the word. She's on virtually.
Thank you. I'm Ria, co-founder of Cybis, and our journey began with a simple observation that clean energy was growing, but it was not accessible to the people who needed it. Those are the street vendors and the informal workers. Can we go to the next slide?
Ms. Rija, please give us a few minutes. We will show your presentation.
No hay audio.
Rija, are you there?
Yeah. Yes, thank you.
Yes, your presentation is on now.
Yes. Clean energy was growing, but it was not available to the people who needed it most, the street vendors and the informal workers. For this, the micro entrepreneurs who work on the street, cooking and cooling becomes the 60% of their daily operational cost, and yet they rely on polluting fuels and makeshift ice storage. Next slide, please. The cleaner alternatives do exist, but they are either on grid with high wattage technology and which are not suitable for the informal settings. So these, can we go next? Thank you. So at Cybis, we set out to develop the off-grid cooling and cooking technologies, which are designed specifically for the micro entrepreneurs. Our vision at Cybis is to make clean energy usable, affordable, and built for informal economy. And our vision is to create a world where the small entrepreneurs can grow their businesses without depending on polluting fuels. Next. So we are a plug and play hardware, energy, and digital stack company, which is catering to the street vendors, where we have this four verticals. Next, please. So this is our solar cooktops, which work on low grid, low inverter. It is just a simple, robust technology runs on battery and a small solar panel. We realized that technology was not just the challenge for us, but trust and adoption was also one of the challenges that we faced. So the vendors had never seen the solar cook stuff. So we designed it to work just like the way they have been already using it, with the same utensils and the same cooking habits. Just it's now cleaner, safer, as well as cheaper. Next, please. So currently, we are active in 12 states in India, where 30 plus units have been deployed with the partnership of 6 microfinance institutions and 1 carbon project developer. Next, please. So this is a cooling solution which works on without electricity and on solar energy. Next, please. So, with the support of International Solar Alliance and Solar Startup Challenge, we have not only scaled our pilots, but we have also refined our technology and the financing models. We got an opportunity to showcase our product to Honorable Prime Minister of India and the Germany's Energy Minister. But most importantly, with the support and the help of ISA and SolarX, we are now able to deliver our products to the real vendors. So this is our team. We have a young and cross-disciplinary team with designers, makers, and engineers who are focused on smart tech for this reach. So at Cybis, we are making renewable more. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Ria. Ahora tenemos a Natasha Ivory. Ella es cofundadora.
And now we have Natasha, and she's co-founder and Clean Electricity and Accessible in Nigeria. And she's graduated in International First from the Northeastern University, and she was inspired in social entrepreneurship and using solar panels as an alternative. So we give praise to Natasha, who is virtually going to communicate virtually with us.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Natasha, and I'm excited to tell you about how I've been transforming lives with SolarX. Next slide, please. So recently, The Economist put out this article that really highlighted how Nigeria has more people living without electricity than any other country. They even stated that fighting this would be extremely difficult. And this is not new to us. This is something that we face every single day. There's not one single person in Nigeria that has constant power from the national grid. We've been working on this very challenge for the past 3 or 4 years, and over this time we've been able to develop a solution that worked perfectly for the market, scale this, and then use our learnings to help installers across the country. Next slide. So after we set out with our product, we had just one goal: to make solar energy easy. And there were a number of things that we needed to actually execute this. Can we go to the next slide, please? As we launched, we found that we needed to have the best product for the market, the best business model, and supportive partners. To deploy solar in this kind of context, where most people are used to using fuel generators, which are extremely bad for the environment and for public health, but they are more affordable, so you pay on a daily basis, we found we needed something that can compete directly with this kind of product. We launched our software platform that really helped to find the best products for them and also access payment plans. So on our marketplace, we decided to onboard over 100 solar companies and installers so that they could find consumers. We onboarded suppliers so that we can connect these installers to the manufacturers directly and get the best prices for them, since it's a very price-sensitive market. And then we also connected the consumers to payment plans so that instead of having to pay this huge sum outright for a solar product, they could actually just pay a deposit, have the solar product installed, and then after they pay their deposit, they're paying a small fee every single month, which ideally should be less than what they are already paying for the few hours of national grid light that they're getting or for their fuel generator. With these payment plans, we've been able to onboard over 50% more customers than we would have without the payment plans. And then our platform also helps these installers to track their whole processes from inventory financing to inventory stock, to managing their stock on there, and also any other things that they need to make their installation as seamless as possible, including procurement logistics. Next slide, please. So with SolarX, we've been able to really grow in all of the things that we needed from the start. So I already mentioned how we really wanted to have the best product. This is on a trip to Mauritius that we did with the International Solar Alliance. Able to see how in just different parts, different regions of the continent in East Africa, how they are able to do these large-scale products, and what kind of projects that they have on ground, and the landscape that enables them to do these kinds of projects. And so through having this knowledge and this access to these large-scale projects that we wouldn't have access to otherwise, we're really able to understand the different possibilities and the different business models that can actually help us to expand our market. Next slide, please. Another thing was international exposure. We've been pitching a lot with the support of the ISA team, and just seeing people understand our business model and give us tips and also share their own experiences has been completely invaluable. Always being able to connect with different startups from across the world has always been something that can boost your business, especially any entrepreneurs in the room can definitely relate to how important community is. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. And these connections that we built have actually gone beyond just being on the field. So we've made over 100 contacts, and we're able to pivot our product. And I'll tell you more about what we have right now in a minute. And we've gained 5 amazing supporters through this amazing accelerator. Next slide, please. So we still have this goal. How can we make solar energy easy across Nigeria? And through this program, we've been able to really expand. So beyond just having our platform, we're able to build off of the data that we learned from executing and actually build out faster and better inventory and consumer financing, this end-to-end installation management, and a marketplace that's consumer-facing, that consumers can actually utilize and buy the products that they want and understand what their payment plans might look like with less input from us. So for us, expanding our technology has been really, really invaluable, and seeing what other people are doing for the solar energy industries in their own region has been really inspiring. Next slide, please. So thank you so much for your time, and please do reach out to me, natasha@oneenergy.com, for any partnership or investment opportunities. Thank you.
Gracias a las tres. Muchas gracias a las tres.
So thank you to the 3 startups that accompanied us today for giving the inspiring witness to see how they brought these projects forward. And to finish with this panel, I would like to ask Andres, and at a global level, what is the panorama of energy projects, especially renewable energy projects? What do you think that the role that these startups can play in all this context? Thank you very much in this scenario. Entonces, in a very general context, I would say that in generation, we can see that there is an ecosystem of startups that is very active and that is growing, as we saw in the case of Simple Map, for example. That's just shown us the company. And as a proof of this activation, yesterday in one of the main newspapers on economy in Chile, There was a news that four of the main economic groups in the country were investing strongly in startups. And I think that's a signal of the dynamism that is taking shape in this sector. So these economic groups that normally invest in actions or in private equity and are betting decisively and systematically on supporting startups, supporting innovative ideas that resolve or try to resolve the huge challenges that we have in our society. And if we focalize in the sphere that unites us, which is energy, as was said before, we have a huge challenge before us in this region because we are one of the regions that has a lot of biodiversity, but with an economic extractive sector that is very strong. So there is a lot of problems generated between the economic development and looking after the environment and mitigating the impacts of climate change. And so justly so in that tension that is generated there, that for the startups in the sector, there is a huge challenge. And you can see that a lot of initiatives have already appeared, as we saw in the case of Simple Map, that try to resolve issues and challenges and problems for this energetic transition. But in the end, it's important to know that in the region, we have huge possibilities of developing more and new initiatives that can somehow come and help us to be able to make this transition in this process of changing the energy mix and adapting much better to the impacts of climate change. So
Nuestra labor desde IDOM, bueno, desde IDOM
Asking me about our work at IDOM. Well, from IDOM, we always try to support institutions, either public or private, and develop context, enabling surroundings for the development of startups or of innovation projects overall, either with this enabling of tools or systems that allow them to promote new initiatives via the coordination in the ecosystems, or maybe through technology transfer, sharing experiences, international experiences. As ISA, the request is to, well, as ISA does, requesting the support of innovations in the startup challenge. So we have an ecosystem, as a summary, that's very active for startups, and it's growing with huge potential to support the big challenges in our region nowadays. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Andreas. And thank you to our stellar panel for the very engaging discussion today. We now move to part 3 of the SolarX Startup session, which is all about applications and how can you apply to this SolarX Startup Challenge. I'm going to have a quick 10-minute presentation, and I'll request my friend Monica to come and speak in Spanish and talk about how the countries can apply. This is your challenge, Excellencies. This is from your country, so I would request all of you to pay attention, to ask questions, and stop us whenever you think we need to answer. So over to you, Monica.
Bueno, quiero
I want to tell you what this call is about, the application process for Latin American and the Caribbean region in the new version of the SolarX Startup Challenge. This is an open call for innovation. As such, there are challenges identified throughout the region that we have worked together with you to know more about the main needs for development and the adoption of solar energy in the different countries. Here you can see all of this, all of the challenges that are in need of solving, that looking for a solution. The idea is to create solutions that will contribute to generation distribution, accessibility, and application or use of solar energy. There are challenges that go beyond energy, of course, because this is something that feeds into other sectors. So there are solutions that have a core that is not related to solar production, solar generation, but the end is creates impact on agriculture, food industry, tourism. It's a very broad landscape. So the message that I would like to leave you with is just not think in terms of energy only, but in everything else that it feeds into. Next one, please. What profile are we looking for in these startups? I would like to open our minds and expand the mindset because we are also looking for projects or initiatives that have an MVP, so a minimum viable product that has been already validated with the market that can give us hints of replicability potential, and that for what regions and thus creating the impact. You need to have up to 10 years of operation. They need to be legally registered as companies. They could be incorporated or limited, whatever applies to your countries, but in Latin America and in the Caribbean. And the solution needs to be implemented in the region also, in the LAC region. They need to be they need to have revenue but or sales but not be profitable. We just need to see sales to show that there's interest in the market, and that's solve at least one of the 10 challenges that I showed you before. What will these startups or initiatives win? You can see that there's a cash prize of $15,000 US dollars per team. But the most important prize is that ESA is a platform that provides visibility and networking opportunities. So that's what they could make the most of, and seeds. They will be in contact for creating pilots or opening relationships, overall have contact with experts in the region so that their projects, their startups can have better tools to find financing. And finally, the results, the winning startups will be announced in the next COP 30 in Brazil. The startups and projects that apply will be evaluated with these 5 criteria. Response when facing the challenge, having an innovative business model. Let's think that this goes beyond the use of technology itself. Of course, energy is a strong sector of innovation, but it could be innovative in its model of income, in its supply chain, etc. It needs to be replicable. It needs to have a solution that can be iterated. There needs to be a team behind this, and also explain the financing use plan, understanding the phase they are in and how will they use their financing to grow further. Next slide, please. Now let's go to the application. To apply to this challenge, they must fill in a form where the basic information of the startups is requested, who started or who founded the startup, what is the solution, the market, the segment, how they're solving the problem, how their team is formed, and financial information. That is the basic information that I need to fill in, but also attach documents that are shown here. So the certificate of company registration, the picture of the minimum viable product, the pitch deck that could include a roadmap and how, an explanation of how they intend to use the price, the cash price of $15,000, the bios of the team members, and the financial statements of the past 3 years. So they can have sales included in that. Next slide, please. Now, taking all of that information into account for the application, they are ready. There is a QR, but it's basically leading you to this link where they attach the document and fill in the information that I just showed you. There are contact numbers in case they have any questions. And finally, the website shows you a message that the application has been submitted. The due date for the application is the 15th of August. I invite you, when this session is over, if you wish to continue promoting this project that you have, we can help you solve your questions and help you with the dissemination of material. If you have any questions now, we can address a few, just a couple if you have any questions. If everything is clear, thank you. Oh, there's a question. Good morning, and thank you so much for that presentation. I have only one question. In the requirements, it said that the company must have 10 years, must have been working for maximum 10 years, but 3 years of financial information. So you assume that the startup needs to be at least 3 years old and maximum 10 years old. Yes, that is correct. 10 years, because what they're looking for is to boost the early stages, the early startups. So that's why the maximum is 10 years and 3 years is the minimum of operations. Let's say they have been working for the past 5 years, so minimum 3. No, I'm asking because some startups are under 3 years. No, up to 3. No. If they have been in operation for 5 years, but they don't have financial statements because it's not on, like open for sales yet, but they need to include the business model and the sales models, so to understand how we would work. Thank you. I came today thinking that in this 15 days, well, not 15 days, it's less that we have, but maybe you can speak about the application that you have already submitted. Is there a process, a support process? We review the request. We already have yours. We received it. If there are any documents that are missing in this period, we can request that. But if you haven't received any messages, if you haven't been contacted about that, about filing any more documentation, there's no need for that. I'm asking just to receive feedback if it's attractive, if it meets the criteria, because I'd like to. I think I meet all the requirements. No, in this phase is more about documentation reviewing, and if we needed you to send more material, more attachments, we would be contacting you. Thank you. Granada has a question.
for the presentation. I still wanted to maybe get a little more clarification on the question raised by Belize because the answer wasn't clear to me. But further to that, I would like to ask, I know this solar startup challenge focuses a lot on youth as well. So is there an age range, a cap on it? That's one question. And the other question has to do with the documentation that is required. What happens in the case where we have early startups that don't have all of the documentation as required? Because we know data records and record keeping is an issue for especially small enterprises. And what happens in cases where the data, the documents are submitted, but in many cases may be incomplete or lacking certain information? How would you treat that? So the age is one, and then the documentation is the other one. And in the case of the Belize question, for startups under 3 years, would they be considered as well? It wasn't clear to me what the answer was.
Right. So on the age, I think we consider the age of the company and not age of the individual. So like the minister had mentioned, you can be young at heart and still apply if you're just getting into the entrepreneurship business. So that's totally okay with us. Your second question on the tenure, I think we're looking at startups across the globe in the SolarX startup arena. So we're looking at ideation stage as well, but they have to be incorporated from 1 to 10 years. So up to 10 years is what we're looking at. You could be at 3, you could be at 5, you could be at 7 as well. Hope that clarifies both the questions. And your third question on documentation, if you think one of the documents is not available, you can always write to the secretariat and we will be able to get it to a one-to-one communication. There have been instances in the past where the startup has been phenomenal and we've made an exception based on documentation. So that should be okay. Yeah. Suriname has a question.
Thank you very much, and also for the presentation. I may have missed it, but for my reference, is this also available in English?
Yes.
All right. And actually, I have a question for, oh, he vanished. The entrepreneur. Is it possible to ask a question now? Yes. Thank you so much. And actually, all the 3 startups. But just for clarification on your project, is it so that you provide a service that you can fly over the power plants, you take a high resolution picture, and then you analyze possible issues with the power plant? Is that what exactly is what you do?
That's exactly what I do. Actually, we hired drone operators abroad, Chile, because we didn't have drones anymore. We started with drones here in the Atacama Desert, but now we didn't have drones. We only have the software. So we hired drone operators in any of your countries, please. If you can share my startup, it would be nice for me. So yeah, we hire drone operators, we gather the data, and then we analyze it with our software anywhere in the world, actually, yeah.
Hello, Chair. Hello, St. Vincent. St. Vincent?
Please go ahead.
Okay, it's for same gentleman. The company that you operate is only engaged in the monitoring of the facilities, or do they hire persons as well to do the cleanup work? You didn't understand?
Please repeat the question once.
It was also for me, sorry.
Yes, I was trying to find out if your company is just involved in the monitoring, or if you all also hire persons to do the actual work that needs to be corrected.
No, actually, we only monitor I don't know, the behavior of the energy generated by a solar farm by diagnosing their panels. So we see some thermal anomalies. Using a thermal camera within a drone, you can see some thermal anomalies within the panels that indicates when a panel is damaged. So then we generate a full report with recommendations and analytics on how to fix it, on how to make this plant, I don't know, generate more energy. That's what we do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just a follow-up question. I really like this project, actually. And maybe because also I missed it in the presentation, so sorry if I did miss it. What is the timeline? Is it like if I have an issue, or is it like a regular monitoring, depends on what the contract is between us? Or so how does it work?
Well, commonly is once a year if you have a huge solar farm, but if you have a tiny one, I'm talking about 3 megawatts to 9 megawatts or so on, you can make it twice, okay? But generally, solar farm of 100 megawatts makes one survey a year. So in that survey, we generate this, I don't know, full report on recommendations and geographical information, which is the most important part of our job, is to locate those failures, because it's really important when you have a huge solar farm. I'm talking about 300 hectares and so sort of that. It's really important to know where the damages are, okay? So that's the most important part of our job. Know geographical information and the location of each model which is damaged. And also, sometimes solar plants has these big disconnections, and we also say where they are, yeah.
So before we come to the closing and I hand it to our regional coordinator, Hugo, I would actually request our DG, Mr. Ashish Khanna, to say a quick few words.
Thank you. 2 quick points, and thank you for very strong interest. I see one first part is that the maintenance of solar plants, which is a lot of question through use of drones, but also through a lot of AI algorithms, where AI algorithms detect where the solar plants are not working, and there is an AI algorithm to actually rectify as well. And then, of course, there's a question on operations maintenance through robots. There's an enormous experience on new technologies that's happening, especially in countries that are doing huge plants, which was the last point. If you are doing huge plants of 50 megawatts, 100, 500 megawatts, single location, it's not manually possible to actually look at all of those things. If you're interested in those, we will help you. But as far as SIDS is concerned, I think you will need a lot more innovation on other kind of aspects, whether doing smaller plants, the DRE business applications. One thing that the second point, final point, is what the Honorable Minister and the Chair mentioned. Since we all signed the SIDS platform, let's go ahead with SolarX, and please get all your youth and women to apply for this. But I have seen globally that it is possible, as you move ahead on SIDS platform, some very specific innovation needs may come for SIDS. And it is not a bad idea, as is done in a lot of countries, that based on the innovation requirements of SIDS, as part of the SIDS platform, you can run a follow-on challenge where you ask people to come with specific solutions for the problems that you face. That is also possible. Because here you are asking innovative ideas and you're seeing which innovative ideas are great. The other parallel ecosystem challenge is the governments can decide, I want to fix this problem. Who has the best solution? I will support through it. I think both are possible. As the Honourable Minister decided that should we do a separate SIDS challenge, we will wait for all the problems on aggregate platform to come and then run a separate challenge, Minister. Thank you very much.
Excellencies, distinguished delegates, partners, and above all, champions of innovation. Thank you for investing this hour in the SolarX Startup Challenge. Together, we have demystified the program, walked through the application portal, and seen how local ingenuity can power a regional solar revolution. Now the clock is ticking. Applications close on 15 August. Over the next 10 days, every conversation, tweet, Instagram, WhatsApp message counts. I urge each of you to amplify the call. in your ministries, universities, chambers of commerce, and startups hubs. Let no promising entrepreneur says, I never heard about SolarX. Why? Because 20 winning teams will receive 15,000 US dollars in seed funding, tailored acceleration, and a global spotlight at COP30 in Belém, Brazil. But the broader prize is ours: cleaner power, resilient communities, and home-ground green jobs across Latin America and the Caribbean. So, as you leave this room, carry 3 actions with you. Share the link and the information. Mentor a team and champion solar entrepreneurships wherever you have influence. Together, we can turn the region's unrivaled sunshine into a wave of innovation that lights up every island, valley, and city. On behalf of the International Solar Alliance, thank you for your attention, your questions, and your commitment. Let us spread the word before 15th August, and let the sun lead the way. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you to our esteemed panelists. May I now request you for a group picture, and then we will just wait for Aditya for the next steps.
Excellencies, honorable ministers, distinguished delegates, partners, and dear friends. As we close the 7th meeting of the ISA Regional Committee for Latin America and the Caribbean, our hearts are full with gratitude, with admiration, and with hope. Our deepest thanks to the Republic of Chile, our generous hosts. Gracias, Chile, for opening your doors to us with such warmth, with professionalism and grace. Your commitment to climate leadership and regional cooperation has inspired us all. To Her Excellency, Minister Karen James of Grenada, your voice, steadfast, inclusive, and visionary, has anchored our deliberations and lifted our ambitions. We thank you for your leadership as chair. To all ministers, government officials, regional institutions, and development partners, your presence here has not only added weight to our discussions, it has also added meaning. Every intervention, every insight has brought us closer to the goal we all share: a just, inclusive, and accelerated solar transition for this dynamic region and for our planet. We are equally grateful to the many hands and hearts who work tirelessly behind the scenes, the exceptional team here at the Santiago Marriott Hotel, our brilliant event partners Thomas & Cook, our local event partner, Jesus, the hardworking colleagues at the ISA Secretariat, both here in Chile as well as headquarters in New Delhi, and to the steady guidance of our Director General, whose vision for global solar cooperation continues to inspire and unite us. We now look ahead with great excitement, welcoming you in New Delhi this October for the Assembly of the International Solar Alliance. Until then, gracias, chal tumai, thank you, and ye hasta muy pronto. Before we formally close, I have a couple of announcements. But before we move to those announcements, I would request our Honorable Director General for a last word.
I will join everyone in thanking the Republic of Chile for being an exceptional host. So please give them a big round of applause. And also our chair, the role model for young and women of Latin America and Caribbean. Thank you, ma'am, for being an exceptional leader. When I came in a few days back, I must confess, I was thinking, do we have enough to offer to this region? Because we are based quite far. But when I'm leaving right now from a huge political commitment and interest, as demonstrated by the SIDS declaration that we witnessed yesterday by 9 countries, by looking at a lot of enthusiasm of all the excellencies, an address by COP30 presidency in terms of how critical the whole agenda is, and coming out with very concrete outcomes, I'm coming with a sense of gratitude, but also responsibility of moving for what I shared yesterday from ambition to action. I leave with a lot of commitment for you that let all of this energy we have felt today be continue in our hearts when we go back, because the journey is not going to be easy, but we are here with you, not preaching in giving you the solutions, but standing with you step by step in getting the implementation done. That's our commitment. Thank you very much.
Thank you for those inspiring words, Honorable Director General. Excellencies, colleagues, we still have a little bit in store for you. We shall be proceeding for a site visit to a very interesting project that the Honorable Minister for Energy Chile spoke about yesterday. We shall all assemble at the lobby by 1:45 with a scheduled departure for 2. I request everyone to please be present. This closing shall shortly be followed by lunch, after which we can all assemble for the site visit. Thank you so much, and I think for being such wonderful participants, you all deserve a big round of applause for your active participation. So thank you so much for joining us here in the meeting.
No. Yeah, I think Aditya, probably we don't need formals for the site visit, right?
Yes, you can dress casually for the site visit. That should not be
And they will not say it, but please join me in thanking the ISA core team of Shishir, Aditya Tiwari, and all the organizers, Mridula. Please give them a big round of applause. Thank you very much. We are proud to have a team. Thank you.